Nintenbyte. You got the Triforce and it feels right. Like Bowser, you can listen all night, singing Peaches until the sun lights. Summer shoots her beam so bright. Master Hand always brings a fight. Catch 'em all and use that fire blast. Put the soul back to visit your past. Welcome to the Nintenbyte Podcast.
All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Nintenbyte Podcast. How you guys doing? We got a packed show today. Got some 7 people. Got some first timers on this podcast. Anyway, it's not first timer being on the Nintendo Prime podcast. That is no retired. That's all right. Let's go ahead and introduce everyone, and then we'll get to our topic roulette. We got Super Metal Dave 64. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, first time on this podcast, but yeah, just been having fun, waiting for Switch 2 and Metroid Prime 4, as you could see with my background.
Heck yeah, it's almost like we might have a certain topic today. Nintendo Talk.
Hello, what's up?
Were you
R.I.P.
10 when you first talked about Nintendo?
No, I was younger.
Okay. All right. I was just checking.
R.I.P. Nintendo Prime Podcast.
Rip. Fablam.
Howdy. Good to see you all again.
Why are you on a safari?
You know, I was just feeling the vibe. I saw the safari hat on the side, and I was like, you know what? We're on the safari today. We're on the hunt for news. We're on the hunt for topics. We're on the hunt for amazing Nintendo content.
Wow, that wasn't corny at all. Eric.
Very good.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good. Are you on something? You look a little hazy.
I don't know. It's this camera.
Oh,
high as hell.
you're blaming the camera. All right.
Wow,
It's not 420.
camera.
It's
For a
522. It's not
second, I
420.
thought the turtle in the background was pizza. Man,
Yeah, but see, 420 wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, right.
Andres, restart.
hello. Thanks for having me for the first time ever. It's
First
really,
time
really
ever.
good to be on here. Oh, man.
I don't even know who you are.
Yeah,
Like, I'm actually jealous. The guns are out and I wasn't prepared.
I'm spent. Sorry. Yeah.
Thunder
Anyway.
Steve, 85 Gaming.
What's up, guys? Happy to be here. A lot of good stuff to talk about. Excited for Paper Mario tomorrow.
Yes. And I'm obviously the hostess of the mostest of the Nintenbyte Podcast, Nintendo Prime. All right, we are going to start our topic roulette with our 4 co-hosts that are going to pick all the topics. Let's see, who hasn't gone first yet?
I don't.
Thunder Steve, have you gone first?
I went first
I
last
haven't
week.
gone first.
Yeah, as I say,
I
these-
haven't.
Well, then
I
I-
haven't gone first.
Well, then I haven't gone first.
But I haven't gone first. And
Yeah,
right
you're
now,
you're not on camera at the moment.
but my
so-
microphone fell. Like I'm
true.
fixing it. I'm holding it
Yeah,
with both arms.
I feel like I'm going to go first.
Oh, come on.
So I think the topic I'm going to take is Metroid Prime 4.
Just to piss him off.
No, I'll be. You know what? Yeah, I do want to piss him off. What do we want and expect Metroid Prime 4 to actually be?
Ooh.
I'm gonna take that topic today. By the way, I'm only taking it specifically because Andres told me he wanted that topic.
All right. Well,
course he
first
does.
off, I hate you. Second off, screw you. Third off, I'll take the Shiver Entertainment one.
Okay.
Spoilers.
I mean, it's a double-sided topic, but yes, Shiver Entertainment's part of that one. All right, so I guess Thunder Steve.
Well, I'll take the 1,000-year door launch.
Sweet.
All right, then
That
Eric.
leaves me with the Switch 2 release this fiscal year.
Yes,
Question
and there
mark?
are notes and things to click on. You might want to read ahead of time before we get to your topic.
Nah.
And of course, the Switch 2 topics always last. It is what it is.
course.
Save the. Actually, you know what? It's the worst for last because today we're talking about Metroid Prime 4, which is awesome. There's not a whole lot of notes for this topic. It's just what do we expect? What do we want and expect for Metroid Prime 4 to be? The notes I have just general ideas, sort of like open world, what kind of graphically sort of stuff. Is it going to be a showcase for Switch or Switch 2, both, etc.? So here's the thing. I'll just throw out there. This is such a general statement. I just want Metroid Prime 4 to be good. That is it. I don't care what it looks like visually. It could look like the Wind Waker for all I care. It could look like Hades. Or it could end up looking like the greatest looking game of all time. Maybe it looks like Hellblade 2. I have no idea how hard they push the visuals. I just want it to be good. And I have faith it'll be good because Retro Studios has yet to put out a bad game, technically, even though it's an entirely new team. But I have a feeling that whenever they do reveal this, which may happen as soon as next month, that it is going to be a confident reveal. They're going to be very confident with what this game is. That's where I'm going to leave it. Who else wants to chime in? I'm sure everyone does. Metro Prime 4.
I'll get myself out of the way quickly. I don't play Metroid, so I don't really know what to
Damn it,
or
Eric.
expect. I have nothing against it. I just have never played it.
Someone turn into a morph ball and drop a bomb on him.
Yeah. So
No. Us Metroid fans are not gatekeepers. We welcome all.
No, I know. I don't know what to expect or what to want from it because I've never played the other games, so I don't know what can be improved, what can't be.
Once the trailer drops, you know the question is going to come to you:
When I'm
will you
going to
play it?
I mean,
You don't know. You got to see the trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No choice.
So I'm just going to get myself out of the way quickly because I have really nothing to say about it because I don't.
Boo! No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You're good.
I have something to say, but I'm not a big like I'm a Metroid fan, but I'm not like Andres Restart, you know. But okay, and this might actually go back to what Eric just said. Like you don't know, you might not play it. I think Metroid fans, calm down. But I think this game needs multiplayer, like a Halo type multiplayer. And like, yes, get the story, get the like big story mode, perfect, dude. I think a multiplayer, like an online multiplayer, like a Doom style, would make this game sell like 10 to 15 to like 20, possibly. Like,
Think about Helldivers.
True.
Especially if this is like a launch game. Like, let's just say it launches on the Switch and Switch 2. Dude, you have a first-person shooter, like multiplayer arena shooter. I think that would be amazing. But yeah, that's what I want out of it.
I mentioned Helldivers because it's like a co-op multiplayer game, but you know, it's almost like Helldivers is almost like what Federation Force should have been. So like it would be kind of interesting if they went in that direction or both. Anyways, yeah, I'm not against multiplayer in Metroid. Like that would be cool. And I think, Dave, I don't know if you remember any of this stuff, but before the initial restart, we had seen, I want to say there was maybe some job hirings or something they kind of gave us some hints. I don't remember exactly what, that they may have been going for something like Prime Hunters a little bit. I don't remember exactly what, because this is like 2018. There was something.
Yeah, they were hiring guys for like networking in Retro Studios and stuff like that, and like online like network stuff. And then they hired a person recently, I think, what was it, late last year, that was specializing in multiplayer maps and art design for multiplayer games. I think some Call of Duty stuff in the past too. So like multiplayer, I think definitely it could be a possibility. And I was talking about it in a live stream recently that if they just put something like a Metroid Prime Hunters mode in Metroid Prime 4, maybe like an offshoot of what's going on in the main game, and you can kind of play on the side with your friends or online, take up the role of someone else, another hunter, so to speak, or whatever in the game. That could be cool. But again, the game has to be top notch, of course, first and foremost, the game itself, before we can consider how good a multiplayer game can be with Metroid Prime. So but yeah, Metroid Prime 4, I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, my most anticipated game of all time. I've been waiting for this game literally, like, it seems like forever. So I'm sure you guys, most of you guys have too, besides the non-Metroid Prime fans in there. But yeah, like a really good, strong single player experience needs to happen. Needs to be obviously pushing the tech of the new hardware. You pretty much know it's coming to that in some fashion, and having a really nice exploring the world in a way that is similar to the original games, but also different at the same time, giving you that familiar feel, but also adding the newness, the new hotness of the next gen Nintendo. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. My expectations are sky high, or maybe higher, for this game. There was something that I saw. Here it is. Okay, so I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Dr. 81. He's like really good at finding like different like job listings, especially when it's related to like Western devs, including Retro Studios. And so he found this recent job listing for a director of engineering that's going to be like a full-time role. And so there's kind of like this little pitch from Retro that I'm going to read real quick here because I think it says a lot. I covered this in last night's stream in case you weren't there last night. But anyways, Retro is a uniquely wonderful engineering environment in a number of ways. We focus purely on Nintendo hardware, so we get to build technology that gets every drop of performance possible. The team speaks milliseconds. Every developer and discipline cares deeply about hitting our aggressive frame rate targets. We take pride in creating truly best-in-class, they capitalize those words, graphical experiences on Nintendo hardware. This means that our graphics technology is always front of mind for Retro. Now, this may seem odd as like this is a wholly owned Nintendo studio, but when you look at like Metroid Prime Remastered and you look at what they accomplished with that game, and we consider, you know, what they've been working on for all this time, like I have high expectations from a technical perspective for Prime 4, and like in my eyes, like I read that, and to me that screams this kind of has to be a cross-gen title. We'll see what actually happens, but it just seems odd to me. It would be odd to me if Nintendo doesn't have a game like this that's really pushing hardware not be used in some way to showcase their significantly more powerful hardware. So in terms of my expectations, I think this game is going to be one of the most impressive games ever from Nintendo from a technical perspective. But even from just like a quality gameplay perspective, Retro never fail. And this has actually been a longer development cycle than any of their prior games. So I expect this game to be extremely well polished. We've heard about how it's been in like the game testing stages since March of 2023, right? So I think they've been polishing this game to Kingdom Come. I think it's gonna be content rich. I expect a masterful single player campaign that, as Dave said, it's gonna be reminiscent of the prior games, but they're also gonna involve it in ways. I think it's gonna be a lot bigger. In terms of there's gonna be, I don't know if it's going to be open world, but there are going to be open areas and mixed in with your typical sort of like close corridor gameplay as well. And you know what? I also think there's going to be multiplayer. I think it's going to have the works. Maybe I'm overhyping here, but I kind of think like, I mean, if they've been working this game for so long and they're trying to measure up to the quality of the original, and Retro says things like this on being the most cutting edge of like Nintendo hardware, like I don't think like my expectations are that crazy. I think we are waiting for one of Nintendo's best games ever. So, yeah, I have high expectations.
Yeah, I think like open linear is like where they might be going because
Like Xenoblade.
I guess, but if you think about Metroid Prime 1, it almost feels like an open world game at the end of the game once you have everything opened up. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even though you have it sectioned off with the doors and everything, it feels almost like an open world game when you have all the abilities unlocked, all the areas unlocked. It's just kind of sectioned off in large areas like Finjana Drifts, for example. So like, yeah, definitely something like that for Prime 4. I could totally see them doing really huge areas, but also sectioned off at the same time.
Yeah, maybe a better comparison because Xenoblade doesn't have a lot of close corridor stuff, but they have like the bigger areas and like linear progression. Maybe like Dark Souls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because that has a really good blend of both, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
Flam, did you go?
I mean, I haven't talked about the Metroid. You have I would love to see either like I think a co-op Halo style would be really cool. I know like the whole point of Metroid is it's that you have this feeling of isolation, but I think maybe the availability of that kind of co-op could be a really cool feature of it. You know, you're playing through the story with the co-op features, and you're working through the puzzles and whatnot. Or you could play it solo. Somebody could just hop in, join you for a little bit, hop out. I think that'd be really sick. But you know,
who would be the co-op person?
What's
like,
that?
who would be the co-op person in the game, though?
Yeah, and see, that's where I'm coming. You'd have to come up with some sort of like
your
plot
best
reason.
friend Silex.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
You have to come up with some sort of plot reason.
Who strangles you at the end of the game?
You know, maybe Samus is cloned, or maybe the something along. Maybe the Metroids like turn into a version of her. You know, it could be like kind of like the ghost characters in Mario or whatever, you know, they kind of join you, but it's like, oh, it's a Metroid and it's like taking her form and they play along with you. That could be a way you could spin it, you know.
They could add a boyfriend mode.
Samus's long lost boyfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, so like in Mario, they call it girlfriend mode whenever there's like some sort of the 3 Marios had like some sort of helper. Like in Bowser's Fury, it's literally like Bowser Jr. Like they can just give us like a Metroid, and the Metroid is
or like
boyfriend
little
mode.
brother mode.
It's more. It would be more like little brother, little kid, son mode. But yeah. I think that's not going to happen because
it's
just not what Metroid is.
An idea. It's something different from what everybody. Because I know like the popular idea is Samus v Samus type multiplayer, or maybe it's a PvE type thing. That'd also be really cool. I would be down for maybe like a PvE.
Yeah,
where
I'm
it's
down
like
for
waves, almost like either zombies or kind of how it is in Destiny. There's like I forget what that mode's called in Destiny, where it's basically like you and a squad of people fighting wave after wave. I think that would also be pretty neat. Interesting take on the multiplayer.
Didn't they have a mode for a second player in Mario Galaxy, which is a single player game where the second player will do like
shoot the star bits and you can
shoot
hold
the star
enemies.
bits.
Yeah.
But like, you know, Metroid it's just not that kind of game. Let's just be honest. It's like it's not a game for your little daughter or you know, for your wife, or you know, you're it's a singular experience. That's what it's always been. Not that they wouldn't have something like that, but definitely I can't see them really forcing something like that into the single player experience. But a multiplayer mode, yeah, I could see that. And then you can maybe play with at least, you know, 4 players online or something like that.
Yeah. I do like where Flam's going though, in the sense that of making Metroid more open, right? Because like you suggested as a way to like get more people involved, right? And so, you know, with a multiplayer or like a PvE mode, be it like Federation Force or like Helldivers, or you know, there's a lot of options they could do for multiplayer, right? Like that's one way. But in terms of the single player, I think it's challenging because Metroid's always known to be like a challenging experience, right? But then you look at games like I know I bring up Souls a lot, but like you look at Elden Ring, it's a 20+ million seller. They've reached mainstream. How did they do that? Even though it's painfully hard, because they gave you a lot of different options to go about handling those challenges, right? It's actually not that different from maybe Breath of the Wild as well. Breath of the Wild has some hard things, but there's a lot of different ways to get by it. So maybe for Metroid, they could just listen, it's a challenging game, but they're going to give you a variety of tools. And depending on how you choose to play the game, it could make it easier and thus more inviting for a larger audience.
Well, you could also take the spin of, because, you know, 9 times out of 10, the Federation sends Samus on these solo missions, or she's, you know, abandoned on a planet or crash lands. Or so instead of maybe taking that spin, maybe it's more of a united force, like the Federation. She's like the Federation's with her and she's getting constant support from them. And they're actually like, you know, helping out. So maybe like those people in the background, or those like, you know, the multiplayer joins could be, you
could call in support if you need it. Like like in Elden Ring, you summon ghosts or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But you
I think that would be a very creative way. I mean, it just depends on the direction. If they want to continue in the basically a 3D Metroidvania, which is what Prime 1 through 3 is, or if they want to take it a different direction, in that more I don't want to say more inclusive, but more like, you know, multiplayer, more cooperative.
Yeah, I just want something you can very easily ignore, because I want it to be very optional, you know, because again, I want it to be challenging for me.
Yeah, well, I think that's a great way to do that, especially again, like you said, Elden Ring is where you can bring that friend in and have that easier time and have fun and whatnot, or you can continue to solo run it and do, you know, have that difficulty spike. Sorry, I cut you off, Dave. Continue.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Yeah. But basically that's what Nintendo needs to, and Retro Studio needs to kind of like reestablish what Metroid Prime is, like a brand new Metroid Prime, and what direction they're going to go for future games. Because you got to think this isn't going to be the end. Like it never should be the end. We should always be thinking about what's Metroid Prime 5 going to be like, Metroid Prime 6, because like this is going to set the groundwork for next gen Nintendo, maybe on a technical level, both for the hardware, plus with gameplay possibilities for Nintendo's new hardware as well. You got to think about that, as Andres brought out with job posting there, right? They were talking about graphics. So like, hey, that's not Nintendo, but that definitely is Retro Studios. Ever since the GameCube came out in 2002, it's been they've been a showcase developer for the hardware. So people gotta keep that in mind, that that's what they do. So we haven't seen anything that they've been doing since Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Wii U in 2014.
Yeah.
So, and that was a fantastic looking game. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a showcase title for the hardware and for the graphics and also for gameplay. They've been a pioneer for gameplay too. You got to remember that.
Yeah. Well, and I like the super chat below us. That's very Dark Soulsian, very Soulsborne.
Yeah, for the people in the audio version, it came in from Free Metroid Hat. He said, "What if other players could invade your game as a space pirate or some other character?"
I love
That,
it.
Yeah,
that's a cool idea.
Invading is a huge mechanic of Elden Ring, Dark Soul, all those games.
Metroid Prime
going
4
on.
Souls of the Dark. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, and if
Mhm.
if we move on or anything like that, I think another thing is like I know it's supposed to be Metroid Prime 4, but I could really, again, it goes back to the root of, are they going to make this like what direction are they taking this game? Because I could even see them just like dropping 4 and naming it like Metroid Prime something, and that being kind of their relaunch of the series and saying, hey, this is what it's going to be like now, especially if they're taking it in a new direction.
Yep.
I like how they handle it with 2D Metroid, where they're all numbered, but they'll only like tell you the number like in the initial trailer. Like for Metroid Dread, it starts with Metroid 5, but it's not in the actual cover art. It's just
exactly.
it's Metroid Dread, and so
Well,
I'm okay with that. But you also look at a lot of other Nintendo games, so 2 and 3, Luigi's Mansion 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It doesn't seem to
Eventually
matter
it
for
gets
those.
crazy. Well, they stopped, you know, even Mario started, 1, 2, 3. Then they started going world and
right. And now
else.
it's just Mario
Well, I can
Bros.
see
And
eventually-
then Super Mario for 3D Mario and Mario Bros. For 2D Mario. So
Usually 3 is like the stopping point of numbering, and eventually, they just start calling things Metroid Prime Reborn, Remastered, or
Unless you're
Remastered, I
Valve.
guess it's a bad name.
Then it's
But you know what I mean.
you just stop making the
Why are
series.
you going to Valve? You just hurt my soul.
Super Metroid Prime for the Super Switch.
Ooh. I like
True, or Metroid Prime Advanced. I'm dying on the Advanced hill for.
I would
Switch
love
2,
that.
by the way,
So
I'm
good.
dying on that hill.
Super Metroid Prime Bros. Advanced.
I was gonna ask you guys, do you think that Metroid Prime 4 is gonna be sort of like the restart that like Zelda had? So like Breath of the Wild, obviously, you made
I
it open
personally hope
world.
it is.
I think so.
hope it is.
I do.
Yeah, because I feel like this franchise more than any other needs more eyes on it and more people playing it. So it's like, as much as you want that traditional Metroid Prime game, you also want some features in there that are going to appeal to like people that never played a Metroid game.
And
I like a Doom reset.
Yeah, I think a reset is needed, like you're saying, and I just think that like, oh man, I had a thought and I lost it. I just think that like, what am I trying to say? I've lost my thought. Please, somebody else say.
All right, well,
why
continue
freeze
exploring
drive
the
my thought.
Congo and then come back when you got it.
Yeah. All right, I'll be right back.
Well, like how I kind of like worry about it, right? Like I mean, I've talked about how Prime 4 could be the Breath of the Wild moment, right? Like I've definitely been like arguing that for a while, and I want it to happen. I think it makes sense, but there is the other side of like, what if this is more like Bayonetta 3, where hey, it's a game they've worked on for several years. Maybe it should have been made for better, more powerful hardware. It's going to kind of underperform. Some people are going to buy it, but that's it. Like that's like that's like the worst case scenario for me. I don't think it's going to be that, because Bayonetta 3 is made by Platinum. Prime 4 has been like something Nintendo and Retro have been working on for a really long time. And so I think they're going to meet, like they literally told us they're trying to have this game measure up to the quality of the original series. So that already tells me that they're not going to release this game until it's a game of the year candidate kind of game. So, if it's not ready yet, we're waiting until it is. So, I think it's going to be good, but will it evolve the series to like a significant level? That's another, there's tiers to this, right? Like maybe I think it's probably going to be the best selling Metroid ever, but it only has to get to 4 million to do that. If we're talking about like a Breath of the Wild moment, obviously that's huge. And it got to that point over years, which is another reason why I think Prime 4 should be cross-gen, because it kind of sets it up to be successful on the new platform. So it's tough, but I think there's a chance.
there's a
I
lot of
remember what I was
pressure
gonna
on
say.
retro studios to perform here, and they haven't done anything for 10 years. So yeah, there's a huge amount of pressure. I mean, you could say they had a hand in Metroid Prime Remastered, of course, but that was mainly Iron Galaxy. So definitely this is all retro studios here. So this is
Yep.
they got to throw their fastball at 100 miles an hour here and aim for the bullseye.
You don't be crazier for that pressure if Nintendo's like, hey, so I've been working on Prime for a while. We really like it. This is gonna be a launch title for Switch 2. Good luck. See you in 3 months. That would be a lot of pressure.
But that's not their choice, though. That's Nintendo's choice. So like they'll
Right.
be like, nope, you got to have it on Switch 1. So they're like, oh darn it, all right, fine.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking over there, Thunder Steve?
Retro kind of reminds me of like Nintendo's modern day version of Rare. There's obviously a lot of comparisons there because they went on to make Donkey Kong Country just as Rare did. But when it comes to like that company's graphical fidelity and how well they do there, they really just remind me of Rare. And so when we're talking about what kind of technological leaps we're going to see with Metroid Prime 4, is it going to be graphically impressive? I think it's culmination of everything we've all said here is that, and we've said it before, not just on this show, but on other shows too, is that it's going to be a cross-gen launch title. It needs to be. It needs to take advantage of the DLSS, and it could really be a showcase title for Switch 2, just as Metroid Prime was when it came out on GameCube. I mean, when it came out on GameCube, it was still looked at for many years as one of the most graphically impressive games on the GameCube and even thereafter. Kind of reminiscent of Rogue Squadron when that came out on GameCube. That was a Factor 5. That was just a graphical showpiece, and I think we're gonna get that moment here, really do, with Metroid Prime. I mean, guys, Super Metal Dave, you said earlier 2018. I'm like, good lord, this is over half a decade. We're gonna be 7 years by the time this comes out. If it comes out cross-gen, hypothetically in March, look at 7 years we've been talking about this. It's not even how long it's been in development. So I got to imagine we're going to see something real special here. And I think the open world rumor that we heard a while back that we've all kind of talked about, think about what the open world aspect did to Breath of the Wild, right? It's no longer linear. Like you go to this dungeon, you get that item, you defeat this boss, you go to the next one. I think we see something like that with Metroid Prime, but probably something we haven't thought of yet is what I'm hoping.
Let's get the rumor correct, though. That wasn't the rumor. It was more open area. It wasn't necessarily open world. It was the rumor. So,
yeah, that's what I mean. I'm sorry. Open area. Excuse me on that.
What's interesting
open
is
area,
that, like,
open zone.
They assumed that it wouldn't be open world, and I think that's probably it feels like a safe assumption, but all we know from the rumor is that it's big, vast areas that it's reminiscent of Halo Infinite, which is awesome. So,
right.
That does sound.
I do think we see multiplayer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they had it in Metro Prime 2. So, I mean, it's never been more right. Like the big thing, I actually think that multiplayer wise, I think not only will there be a multiplayer mode, I know that the focus has always been on the single player, but I think that might be the way to make this game bigger than it's ever been, is having a multiplayer mode that's as big as the story mode. Because, they've done like Metro Prime Hunters in the past and stuff as well. And they've never really had it connected in a massive way to a big game besides like a little bit in Prime 2. I really think that they could, if you look at the success of their multiplayer games on their platforms, all of them basically do well. I can't even think of one that doesn't do well for them. So if they could advertise equally like an amazing single player experience, because you're not going to want to forget the base. You got to hit the base. You got to make them happy. Mm-hmm. But you want to find a way to appeal to new people. I think a multiplayer mode that's really expansive, that's constantly going to be getting updated. And I don't know if they want to go the season route, but whatever they want to do, I think could end up really appealing to a new audience. In fact, And there's even a possibility. This is something I would consider. I don't know if a lot of Nintendo fans would be happy about this, but even being able to sell the multiplayer mode on its own, separate from the game, so you don't have to buy the single player game.
I threw you out the room in my head.
Yeah, see, that would upset some people, but there are going to be people interested in the multiplayer want nothing to do with the single player, and making that more accessible and easier to access. Even say it's like just part of NSO, like you just get to play the multiplayer if you have NSO.
So I was
That
thinking.
would be huge.
Like that would really drive it up.
So like I don't know if you saw my live stream yesterday, but we were talking about this a little bit. Like we were just joking around about possibilities, but I'm not 100% against the idea, even though I was kind of joking around that I was. Like, I think there's a way you can handle it that would be inviting for a single player. Like, the thing is, the single player, like, we're talking about, like, a masterpiece campaign, right? We're not talking about, like, Splatoon campaign, which is good. Splatoon campaigns are fun. But, like, Metroid Prime campaigns, that's why you play the game. It's a whole other beast, right?
It's the meat and the potatoes.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, if they want to go ahead and give us a really significant multiplayer as well, I'm all for it. And if this is actually a launch window title or something, and they do want to have some sort of special NSO, like free to play multiplayer set, like sort of strategy, I'm not against it as long as it's done in a way that encourages people to play the single player, because that's where it's really at.
Yeah, they could have like the Federation is at war with other factions across the galaxy. You can be like Helldivers too, and just go with your some people as Samus and some hunters and go kill some pirates, or fend off the bad guys on some other planets maybe, or other parts of the planet from the main game. Who knows?
Yeah, and maybe you get more stuff if you progress in the campaign, which will then make people think, oh, okay, well, like maybe there's not a battle pass, but you literally just buy the actual game, and when you play the actual game, you can enjoy more of the multiplayer.
And like, we didn't really discuss DLC, like will there be DLC to this game, but it would be nice for this game to have more momentum even after launch. Like, everyone's excited. Well, most people are excited for this, but you don't want it to come and go. You don't want Metroid to just have that little moment, kind of like Dread did. You want it to carry on a little bit. So whether it's DLC, whether it's multiplayer, it'd be nice to like keep it going for.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense for Prime 4 because it's a big, expensive game. So might as well like get your bang for your buck and put out some cheap. I say cheap for them to make, but not cheap as in terms of quality, in terms of DLC like that. I think it would be a good idea. I mean, most major Nintendo games, if they're brand new, there's some exceptions like Dread, but they tend to have DLC of some kind. I mean, even Dread had free DLC. Mario Odyssey had free DLC. Like, there should be something to kind of lengthen our gameplay, I would say.
Some of the best multiplayer experiences are quote unquote tacked on experiences, because like GoldenEye, I don't know if you know the history of that game, but it originally wasn't even supposed to have multiplayer. It was like a mode they're just like messing around with. And it said, let's add it in the final game. It turned out to be like the most amazing thing about that game. So you never know. I think they should try something at least and give it a shot. We could all enjoy some multiplayer Metroid.
Yeah. Was that the same story for Fortnite too? Which is even crazier.
Fortnite was weird because
weird.
They had a single player. That's what it originally was. It wasn't being received very well. And so they did this pivot to what it became after seeing the success of PUBG. Yeah. And that blew up, and they ended up not releasing the single player until way after the multiplayer came out. Like the beta test for the single player was just, everyone hated it. So then Fortnite blew up multiplayer wise. They eventually did release the single player, I believe like a year later after the multiplayer. Still wasn't really well received. Didn't really matter at that point. But this is a case where I think they were released at the same time, so I don't think that really matters. I would liken this more to, it's a really weird comparison, but because the game's just massive in general. But like Grand Theft Auto, like they added multiplayer onto what was just a single player experience, and ended up doing very well, and is maybe arguably the biggest thing about the game. That hasn't led to them devaluing the campaign. They still make pretty amazing campaigns. I mean, we don't know for GTA 6 till it's here.
That's true.
But GTA 5, they definitely made a top tier campaign. But the multiplayer is where they made all the damn money. So it's one of those things where the multiplayer is probably why the game's at 200 million copies sold. So you don't know for Metroid. Like, you could have it be a really amazing campaign, but the multiplayer could literally end up being why the game gets big.
I mean, might as well give it 2 chances instead of 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's been in development long enough that they could have come up with something compelling.
And they've been outsourcing their devs a lot, so they've been getting lots of help. So they've had plenty of time to add something like that to the game, even if it's just a small thing at first. It's something they can add later. Like more content
they plan to update
as the years goes on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, I want to be clear. I don't really know what the multiplayer mode's going to be, but I kind of feel like the genre it's in is ripe for something. Because Halo's been kind of a big letdown for a long time. Like, I think there's a unique opportunity here for them to actually eat into some of the fan base that might enjoy a game like that. I don't know what the multiplayer is going to be like, but I think there actually is an opening at the moment in the space shooting genre to do something. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're going to pull it off. I don't know if that's their goal, but if they do, that's a massive win for them if they pull it off.
Something else that should be addressed. I'm all for this, by the way. Like, I love there's a lot of potential, but a lot of us like to think that it's probably cross-gen, but we don't know that yet, right? I think we'll probably know this June.
I'm off the cross-gen bandwagon, but you already know that. I've been off it for a bit.
Yeah, I know. I'm very proud of you for not like shutting down our hopes and dreams until now.
I got no problem. No, look, hopes and dreams are what my channel is all about. It's all good to have your hopes and dreams. I just feel confident that they're going to end Switch in a very strong way before Switch 2 comes out, and that's going to be with this being a showcase swan song game.
And I respond to that by saying, I feel confident that they're going to end Switch with Metroid Prime 4 as Switch 2 comes out, because it'll be cross-gen the same way they did with Breath of the Wild. I don't actually know if that's what it is.
We don't have any idea.
It's what I want to happen. It's definitely what I want, and I think it makes sense. But I acknowledge a few other possibilities, like 3D Mario Kart. But because we talk about this cross-gen version a lot, we don't have a lot of evidence for being a cross-gen version, do we?
There's definitely no evidence of anything other than it's coming to Switch, because that's what they keep listening to.
So I mean, I guess the question, the other thing though, is that the idea of there being a cross-gen version is it would be a showcase for Switch 2, and from everything we've heard about Switch 2, it's dramatically more powerful than Switch 1. So you can probably get a cross-gen version of Prime 4, put it at 4K 60. It'll already be at 60, but maybe add ray tracing. But would that be a significant enough of a difference to be like, hey, this is a showcase for our new hardware? I think they would have to be working on a cross-gen version for a few years in order for it to really.
I think it would look really good, but I think any game that's dedicated, purpose built for the hardware is going to end up looking better. Like, I would say the next game they make after this would end up looking so much better than this.
I'll say this though. I mean, I think
most of the work's been on the Switch version.
A lot of things that have been made with scalability in mind. Yeah. I don't know. That's basically. I'm on the wait and see approach.
We're in this in between area where Nintendo's like, we gotta announce a new platform here in this fiscal year. Oh, by the way, our next direct is just about Switch the rest of the year, where we have no games announced past July. Yep. By the way, you don't know what we're doing. Have a good day. Keep guessing.
I will say this though. I know this goes into one of our topics later, but I think it kind of serves the argument a little bit. With Paper Mario 1000 Year Door, there was a data in mind that there's some sort of info for a 4K version of Paper Mario.
Yes.
And so if there are already some Nintendo games that are being made in mind for Switch 2 in the future, Prime 4, I would think more so would be made in mind with that. Now, that doesn't mean that there's a dedicated cross-gen version that looks leaps and bounds better. Yeah. But I think it does kind of support the idea.
I'll say this. I'll say this. I think any late stage Switch game is going to have support for Switch 2 in terms of there being some sort of 4K version of the game. I think that's been very made clear with the 1000 Year Door stuff. It's very clear there's a 4K version. has the
And
support right in the
that's
code.
probably 9 months.
But I
out,
don't
if not
I don't
more.
think that it's like means that it's dedicated made for the platform. It's more so, hey, we're gonna have backwards compatibility. There's going to be cross-gen stuff because of that. So we're gonna make sure these late stage games can continue to maybe have an evergreen status on a new platform.
I wonder if that's why the buttons are the way they are too.
Yeah, I know that's a lot of speculation behind that.
Yeah.
Let's get into our second topic. I believe it goes over to Andres Restart because he just got pissed and took over.
He stole my heart, so
Doesn't seem that angry to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it or not, I'm livid. So the topic here, it says Nintendo Switch 2 third-party support, Shiver acquisition. And you got some bullets here.
Yep.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, actually, I made a video about some of this stuff already, so it's not really.
Yeah,
that
I
crazy for
figured
me.
like when you grabbed that
Yeah.
topic, I was like, hey, you actually, I think, made a video about a lot of this. So it's not.
I did.
I
Yeah.
don't know,
So the big like literal news, because a lot of people have been complaining about getting actual news. We literally have news as of like a day and a half ago that Nintendo has bought out wholly Shiver Entertainment. And when you read the press release, it wasn't a press, whatever it is on their site. The wording's a little strange about it. But basically Shiver Entertainment has done a lot of like development and port work, and they mentioned games like Hogwarts Legacy and Mortal Kombat 1, which are pretty big AAA efforts, and those came to Switch. And so, from my perspective, I think it's just exciting that they even now wholly own studios like this, even if Shiver Entertainment is still going to do some work for other companies, because Nintendo has another Western studio, and they're going to be able to offer a lot of support in terms of getting games running for Switch 2. I mean, maybe Switch 1, but I just kind of feel like at this stage it's probably for Switch 2. And so that's going to bode really well for third-party support. But then we have heard other things like, apparently, according to Midori, the Kingdom Hearts series, including 4, are coming to Switch 2. Maybe.
Whoa.
That's what he said. Yeah.
That's huge.
And then we also look at what's going on with the industry as a whole. Square Enix is now trying to focus more on quality as opposed to quantity. Microsoft is putting their games elsewhere, and they're showing a lot of their smaller studios. But when we have a platform like with Switch 2, especially based off the recent shipment leaks that really support the idea of this console being comparable to at least Xbox Series S, it's looking like Nintendo is putting themselves in a situation where there's going to be some really strong third-party support, unlike anything we've seen since maybe the GameCube era, if not even before that, like, I don't know, Super Nintendo. Maybe that seems like a really crazy thing to say, but the signs are kind of there. So it seems promising. But what do you guys think?
I mean, it goes back to something Tom Henderson said last year. For those who don't know who he is a reporter at Insider Gaming that's hit on like 69 of his last 70 reports. He's insanely well connected. And he said last September 30th, he put out a tweet where he's like, hey, a year from now, which he was presuming Switch 2 would be revealed by September of the following year. We still don't know if that's the case. But he was saying you're going to see a lot of, and also on Switch 2 at the end of these third-party trailers. He was just noting that he's just aware that third parties are ecstatic about this system. And I've even heard from a couple developers myself that they're really excited for it. Paul Gale has heard as well. So you're starting to like see from multiple places that third parties seem to be very excited for this platform. Now, we've heard words like this before, right? We've heard it with Wii U, most notably, unprecedented partnerships and how excited everyone is. And obviously that all ended up being mostly for naught once the third party saw what the system is. But a lot of that excitement came before they even had dev kits. This is coming from people who have the dev kits, who are making the games for it already. They're excited by it. Now, obviously, the platform has to be successful or it doesn't matter, right? Because if the games aren't selling and the platform doesn't sell well, it doesn't really matter if you like developing for it. But it's quite interesting. One of the words I saw somebody put out there is that one of the developers mentioned that the tools that you use behind the scenes to make games for it are so much better than they were for Switch. I don't know anything about that. I asked my developer buddies and they say, well, we can't really talk about that, which fine. But that to me is also exciting because it does mean that they put a lot of thought and effort into the dev tools. And then you see Nintendo make this acquisition of Shiver and talk about how they plan to still use them as a third-party port studio, which I thought was just fast. Nintendo doesn't do that. They don't buy a studio to port third-party games. They buy a studio to use for internal purposes. Instead, they'll be like, hey, we're going to offer this studio to third parties who want to bring their games to our platform that maybe wouldn't consider bringing their games to our platform.
Sure.
And I'm just like, hey, this Shiver purchase about tossing this at Rockstar so we get GTA 6, I'll take it. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you're
likely.
telling Rockstar we will pay for this game to get ported, we got the studio for it. Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, likely the tools are very like common tools, basically like what they're using for PS5
Modern.
and Xbox Series X stuff, you know, on PC. So that's probably why developers are excited for it, because they can just port their games over a lot easier now.
Now Windows has like this exclusive version for ARM CPUs. That's now starting to come out in certain Surface things and Surface laptops, and starting to come out more. So like even the ARM architecture that supposedly the system is going to be using is now becoming extremely common in like a gaming sense. So developers are now even more well versed with being able to make stuff for it, which of course they are. You know, if you're in the mobile phone space, you've been dealing with this for a while. But I think that this is exciting. I like hearing that developers want to make games for something instead of developers feeling like, oh, we just want it. We wish we would have supported Switch from day one because we didn't bet on it. Yeah, but you also weren't excited by it.
Yeah. And so there's something interesting about the current situation with Nintendo, right? Because they sort of earned the respect of third parties with the Switch. And the thing is, Nintendo has almost sort of done this before, like with the Wii, right? But with the Switch, it was even better because, I mean, they use the NVIDIA tech. It's a lot easier to develop for that, right? But now they have something that seemingly is going to be an even better sort of yield, right? Like they've probably, like the Switch one was like a stock Tegra X one, right? Like they've been R&Ding this for probably a little bit while longer. So it's going to be more specialized. It's going to get a little bit more bang for the buck, we presume. But also, from everything we're hearing, they're following up the Switch. They're maintaining the same conditions and ecosystem that have excited and encouraged a lot of developers to jump on, even when it wasn't really too feasible. So we may be entering an environment now where Nintendo's finally just kind of continuing what they've actually established, but just doing it better. And now third parties already know what they're going to get. And they saw the success for Switch. And I think there's a really good chance we're going to hit the ground running here with a lot of devs. I mean, we've even heard some rumors, again, kind of like the Kingdom Hearts thing, but like from Necro Felipe, which is not as credible, right, as Midori, because Midori is like extremely credible. But we've heard about Monster Hunter Wilds and Far Cry 7 being like ready for the console, or that supposedly that they'll be ready for the console come launch. So those are promising things if true.
There's also this thing, and Nintendo has got to be really happy the story's out there. Biomutant got a very late port to the system, and it didn't do well on other platforms. And now the report out there is that it's sold better on Switch than they even expected it would. Despite being a late port, despite being a game that wasn't well received elsewhere, it sold very well on Switch, kind of showing that like there's this idea that third-party games don't sell on Nintendo platforms because Nintendo's software sales are so crazy high. And yeah, none of these games are selling 60 million. Well, maybe Minecraft. Don't really know how many copies of that have sold on Switch.
I'm sure
that's probably up there somewhere. But
oh my god, yeah.
But those are like the exceptions. Like how many installs of Fortnite are there? Probably a lot. But I look at it as Switch sort of showed that you can be successful on the platform. And I think another thing that also might make third parties more competent, and this is beyond the hardware itself. They know Call of Duty's there for the next decade. Signed, done deal, it's public. Call of Duty is going to be on the platform. They just know it. And so you're like, oh, so some people who like to play Call of Duty are going to be there. Some of those people like to play some of our games. So we really want to bring our games over. And like Fortnite's still going to be there, and there'll be an updated version of that. All those massively multiplayer games. I'm sure Warzone's going to be brought over as one of the Call of Duty games as well. So I just kind of feel like Switch 2 is in a very good position because of a number of reasons, but the biggest one being for third parties. Switch set the table and hasn't lost the users along the way. Predicting it to sell 13.5 million this fiscal year in year 8, which is what they did in the first full year the system was out in the public for sale, is insane. That's an insane number of systems to sell in year 8 on tech that everyone is laughing at and saying, oh, it's old. It's 10 years old. Like, okay, cool. Also, Nobody cares because they've got 118 million active players in the last 12 months, according to their data. They have a paid subscription now that makes people further invest in their ecosystem. They're bringing the accounts forward for like the first time in Nintendo history. They're not pressing delete and resetting.
That's beautiful.
They're bringing it forward. That makes backwards compatibility even more exciting because all our purchases are tied to that damn Nintendo account. So there's just a lot of, I think, forward momentum. And the fact that Nintendo is confident in that 13.5 million, despite the fact that they said, oh, by the way, we're going to be talking about our successor. Okay, so we're just admitting that we're going to be talking about what's coming next this fiscal year. Oh, by the way, we still plan to sell a shitload. They just created a very, I'm a little afraid they're getting a little cocky. We'll see. We've seen Sony maybe get a little cocky with stuff when things were going really well for them. But I think this comes across more confident than cocky until that June Direct hits. And if there's like nothing in there that indicates Switch should keep selling, then I might say, okay, they're getting a little cocky. But
yeah.
But we'll see. I think the June Direct's probably going to have some surprises in there that are actually going to move some decent amount of units. But
Mario Party.
And we have to always remember
Mario
Pokemon
Kart.
Legends ZA. So it's coming out next year at some point. That'll help move units. I don't know if it'll be this fiscal year, but it'll help move units when it does come out. So I just kind of sit back and go, man, I think third parties just don't want to miss the boat this time. I think the ones that did take advantage are happy with the performance of their games. Sure, maybe like The Witcher 3 didn't sell as many copies as it did on PlayStation 4, but it didn't have an audience for that game when it launched. There's more of an audience for that kind of game now than there was back then. Square Enix, they've seen the success of their smaller games selling multiple millions of copies. Man, what would a Final Fantasy do if you actually had it here day one? If that's what your mid-tier games are doing. Like I think there's just a lot of these third parties are finally realizing, hey, Xbox ain't doing so hot. It's just reality. Their system isn't doing so hot. I'm not saying them as a company.
23 million systems sold or something like that.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
That's extremely niche. And yet that gets better third-party support than the Switch.
And then you have obviously Sony, who's they always do pretty consistently well. Well, guess what? In the home console space, Switch represents like half the damn market. So if you're not on half the damn market, you're going to miss out on sales. And I think third parties are now realizing we got to stop laughing at Nintendo. We were laughing at them and touting the power of the Xbox and PlayStation. Well, guess what? The Xbox has fallen down and not really mattering much. PlayStation's still doing fine. But when we get to PlayStation 6, it might just be PS6, PC stuff, and Nintendo. And that might be all there is that actually matters. And if you ignore a third of the market, you're really just missing out on a lot. And I think this is the realization those third parties are having. Like, hey, we can't skip this time. Like Nintendo ain't going anywhere. They just they're doing it different and it ain't going anywhere.
They've done a good job for the past 8 years or so, or 7+ years, of having a large amount of software and a lot of different types of software on the Switch. So there's so many people who own the Switch that when Biomutant came out, basically, there's just an audience just there waiting to buy it. And not necessarily on PlayStation and Xbox, because the demographic, it seems to like the art style of the game kind of fits more so for the Switch, even though I'm not like a big fan of the game or anything, but like I'm not surprised it sold really well. Plus, the JRPG audience on the Switch is huge now. I think Square Enix is gonna become have cash coming out their ears with the Switch too. So I think Final Fantasy VII Remake, even Rebirth, and the whole shebang, Final Fantasy 16, I think they're all going to be ported to the Switch too, and 14 as well.
About time.
Yep.
I think they're all coming.
Yeah.
And Kingdom Hearts, man, like
That too.
that's been a match made in heaven for since the beginning. When it came out on PS2, it's like, man, this would sell so well on a Nintendo console even back then. It just seemed like a missed opportunity. And then, of course, it comes over to the Switch, but as the cloud version, nobody wants to play the cloud version. We all know that. So it makes sense that with the Switch 2, we would get Kingdom Hearts 4 and presumably 1, 2, and 3 physical versions. Obviously not the cloud version. But I gotta imagine all 4 of those are coming out on Switch too.
I think so. I think they'll be dumb not to. Honestly, there's so much money there
Easy
to
money.
be made, especially if the console can play games at decent settings. Like and port easy enough. Like basically, Nintendo Switch owners have proven they just want games that run good enough or barely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
it's not about
just
being the best.
Yeah.
Just,
you know,
about being
this wants
good.
something that looks presentable enough they'll buy it. And the Switch 2 sounds like it's much better than Switch 1 in terms of how easy it is for developers to get their games on there. So like you get all the AAA games, well, most of them basically, and all the indie
And
games
portable.
still. Yeah, and you might have a 200 million selling console for Switch 2. Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. But like, it could be their biggest selling console of all time. It could even surpass Switch 1 because of the amount of legs it could have, even longer than Switch 1.
Yeah,
could
I mean, like, what
possibly
if
have.
it steals
I
the
agree.
Xbox audience?
Mhm.
Because it's out there. It's possible. It's a really interesting point.
Very possible.
Yeah, they might be porting Halo to Nintendo, right? So that's a
Could see
huge
that.
audience right there.
The new Banjo-Kazooie project will release on Switch 2 day and
Please.
date with Xbox, and it'll
Please
sell
say that.
90% on Switch 2.
Oh, for sure. They might as well re-release Perfect Dark also on Switch 2, like the original one. You know what I'm saying? That
Mhm.
sell
yeah.
a lot, a lot more.
It would make
Yeah.
sense too, especially with Banjo Kazooie being in
Mm.
Smash Brothers. I mean,
Yep.
because obviously we all know Banjo Kazooie because we played it when it came out on the 64 back in the
Yeah.
day. There's a whole generation that was just introduced to this character,
Yep.
and it would be silly to not capitalize on that by bringing the game out on Xbox and Switch, or just Switch. But you should do something with that.
Prediction.
Mm.
Master Chief is coming to next Smash Brothers.
He should. He should.
That'd be
Why
cool.
not?
Be cool to get the Master Chief collection too.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't see why
That
they
would be
wouldn't put him
wild.
in there.
That'd be super wild.
I mean, I think we're entering a territory where it's not even just about the collection. Like, why not every Halo game?
I feel like any character that makes it into Smash, obviously that's third party, that's an automatic way to sell way more games.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Period. Like you are going, I don't know if Nintendo charges these companies to have the character in the game. I don't know like what the details
Yeah,
are,
we
right?
don't know the details
We don't.
behind it. No.
But all I know is that if your character's in that game, you're going to benefit greatly.
Persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sora
True,
from Kingdom
Joker.
Hearts, Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. And maybe Nintendo's like, hey, we'll allow your character to be in the game if we get said game released on our platform. Or like, hey,
Ugh.
Cloud can be in Smash Brothers and Sephiroth, but we want Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch too.
Yeah, I don't know what the contract
don't
details
know.
are behind the remake stuff. Yeah.
Mm.
We don't know how much Sony has control over that particular version
yeah.
of the
I
game.
feel like Cloud should definitely be in the next one. Like Cloud was on Wii U and Switch, so like
I feel like Cloud and Sora, that Nintendo paid to have them on the game. No Square Enix.
well, Sora was the tricky one.
Yeah. I'm
Sora was a
sure
very tricky
maybe they
one.
didn't pay Square Enix, but I bet they paid Disney.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy is just time based from what they were saying. They have a certain time range, but
Hell
they-
yeah.
and they
Bring
say they
it
want
over.
to port it to other platforms, and they say
Give
that
us
themselves.
all of it.
So yeah, just put it all on Switch too, even if it's running at lower settings, 720p, 1080p, whatever.
Who
Final Fantasy
cares?
7 Remake and Rebirth. That's gonna sell. Those will both sell, millions each on Switch too, easy.
Easy.
Let me ask you guys a
Easy.
question. Do you think if Final Fantasy becomes a big deal on Switch, like the not just the side projects, like the newest and new Final Fantasy games, they start releasing day and date on Switch too, right? Does that maybe create like a really strong presence of Final Fantasy fans on Switch 2? And does that in turn maybe improve the sales of other similar JRPGs, say for example like Xenoblade?
Yeah, I think it'll bring back people who left
Can't
Nintendo
hurt.
when they went to PlayStation in the late 90s with Final Fantasy 7.
Mhm.
A lot of some fans were really angry about that because it was always on Nintendo up until that point, and there was a big like breakaway between the fan base, and then PlayStation ran away with it for the like 15, 20 years after that.
Yeah.
N64 was like the cutoff point. And the Final Fantasy wasn't the mainstay on Nintendo after that. So yeah, I think you have a lot of people coming back to Nintendo for Final Fantasy, and the old time fans like myself, who were really into the Final Fantasy on the Super Nintendo and stuff like that, kind of fell out of touch with it when they went to PlayStation because I was always playing Nintendo, myself included. I'll be more into it just automatically due to nostalgia.
That was
RPGs
one
are
of the
also
biggest
really good on
breakups.
Switch. Yeah.
Back in the day, that was a huge breakup.
Yeah, I
The
mean, it
Nintendo
can't
and
hurt.
Square Enix deal.
It
Or
can't
Square.
hurt. That's the thing. Like it can't hurt. And I think you'd see a lot of people that would really want like day and date brand new Final Fantasies. In a portable format, which obviously can exist on PC as well with all the handheld PCs. But I think the big difference that people don't think about between the handheld PCs and Switch 2 is Switch 2 will actually be fully optimized for, whereas the handheld PCs, at least so far, aren't really being optimized specifically for. And I know some people bring up Steam Deck Verified. All that is verifying that the game runs. It's not verifying that the game was specifically designed to run on the system. It's verifying that it's a decent experience on that hardware. So people kind of get that confused at what Steam Deck Verified means. It's not that they actually specifically designed it for Steam Deck. It's a very niche part of the PC market. PC doesn't really specifically design their games for any one set of hardware because there's too much variance going on. Even in the handheld space, there's too much variance going on to pick like one, and that's the one we're going to optimize for. Whereas that doesn't happen with consoles. That's the one benefit consoles have, is that it's set hardware that is specifically like customized and optimized directly for. And I think that will have a lot of appeal for people that want to take these big AAA games, especially Final Fantasy and the likes, on the go and potentially still have a decent TV experience. Potentially. We don't know. Potentially.
Fingers crossed with that extra fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overclock the hell out of it, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So I'm getting a minor brain blast here as we talk about like this potential, because I'm also reminded of the fact that we have the Call of Duty deal.
Yeah.
And so we look at what's happening with Xbox, right? We may get more Microsoft games, but also Xbox, the platform, is becoming less popular. That audience is going to go somewhere. If we get things like Final Fantasy and other third parties, and then we also have things like Call of Duty early on Switch 2, and all these games are running relatively well. And then it's also portable, so there's a lot of value there. Like we could see Nate, you were gone for a little bit. Dave suggested that there's a possibility maybe Switch 2 could like eclipse Switch sales, like with all of this potential success with third parties.
That's the one thing Switch just didn't have. If you get these big third parties and they actually run well enough that gamers don't give a shit about there being a slightly better version somewhere else,
Sky's the limit.
It's just got to run well enough. It's just got to look good enough. People aren't super impressed right now with the jump to PlayStation 5. They're just, I'm not saying, by the way, that some of you guys aren't. Of course, there's always exceptions. But the general consumer base, just looking at how they're reacting, I love PS5. But you play like the best games that were on PS4, and then you play the best on PS5, and you put them side by side, and you're just kind of like, it's kind of the same.
PS5 is a basically like a PS4 Pro. It's
way more powerful, but it's like diminishing return areas, I think, where we're starting to hit a little bit.
Yep.
And if you want 60 frames per second, you turn off ray tracing. So like it's basically, it would be like that for Switch too. Like ray tracing doesn't make that big of a huge like difference.
No.
People want performance more so. You want the game to run good and have that good like input, like no input lag. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these games require that, Twitch response. And if you're just like going to sacrifice that, like Stellar Blade on PS5, I'm not playing the 30 frames per second mode for 4K. No, I'm going to play the 1440p 60 locked because it's easy. That's the way you want to play
1080p 60 handheld Switch 2.
It's an action game. Yeah.
So, it's interesting, right? I'm trying to remember the size of my television. I think it's like a 72-inch, and like my living room is not that big, right? So it's a pretty good size for the space, right?
Yeah.
It's a 4K TV, but I play my Switch games on there, and they still look they don't look like blurry, depending on the game, right? Yeah. But like I'll even play like Metroid Prime Remastered, which is at a dynamic 900p, and it doesn't look like a fuzzy mess to me. Well,
TV is also upscale.
Sure.
To be clear, depending on the TV, some have some okay upscaling.
all I'm trying to say is that I'm not saying, and then I play games on my PS5, right? And I play in 4K. Like I'm just on that same TV. I'm not trying to say that there isn't an improvement. There is, but I think sometimes we overestimate just how big of a jump, resolution alone can make. Like, yeah, it can make a
Sure.
difference, but if we have things like DLSS and upscaling and things like that going on for Switch 2, it can really mitigate, the significance of that gap.
Yeah, I kind of look at the leap we're gonna see, and why I think people will feel like it's significant is because I feel like we're kind of jumping from PlayStation 3 to a PlayStation 4 Pro, which is a very large leap and was noticeable during that generation. The leap forward, and what was the most noticeable was performance.
True.
PlayStation 3 had a lot of choppy frame rate stuff.
Yeah.
Not as much of an issue on PlayStation 4, especially on PlayStation 4 Pro. So, like, that's the thing. Like, gameplay experiences just felt so much better. And that's what's about to happen. And if we get all that third-party support, if Nintendo delivers the same level of quality of games, which we suspect they will, this generation as they did, during the Switch era, and then on top of that, you have all the big third parties and they're all doing decent as well. There is that potential that this could be bigger than the Switch. And you're talking year 8 of that system and you're like, oh, we're already in the PlayStation 6. Yeah, and all the third parties aren't abandoning because look at the 3, 4, 5 million sales every game they drop is getting here. Like they're still dropping their big games, still keeping this. I mean, imagine this year if all those big third-party games were still coming to Switch. Would we even think the Switch is, it's having a slow year? Really? Really? You see all these big games that just keep dropping? Is it really that slow? Yeah, we're going to have all the Nintendo big exclusives because they're getting ready. They're gearing up for the next system. But everyone else is like, dude, we're getting sales. We're dropping. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Right there on Switch. Enjoy that bad boy. You don't need to play anything else for another couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nintendo has made so much money on Switch 1 that they can actually afford to spend a little bit more money on the R&D for Switch 2, which they likely already have, which will basically make the Switch 2 last even longer because of the longer legs it will have due to the tech being better and able to withstand more ports for a longer period of time. Switch 1 was basically outdated in the first year or two. Pretty much, it was reaching its limits really quick. You know what I'm saying? So they're really fortunate in that it lasted so as long as it did and gave them so much money to put in the bank. And now Switch 2, the sky's the limit. I
mean, Nintendo did something they've never done. They bought a third-party port studio in the West to help port Western third-party games. Nintendo's confident, man, and they want to make sure there ain't an excuse. If your excuse is we don't have the resources or we don't have the team, hey, we got you. We just want our 30% cut of sales, but we got you.
I did some reading on Shiver actually earlier today.
Okay.
And Nintendo Life had a nice article that they put out there.
Yep.
Did you guys, any of you guys read that?
I read that one.
Okay.
Enlighten me.
So the CEO and the founder, his name's John Shapert. Okay. He's just stated that he's an industry veteran. He worked at Visual Concepts in the early 90s. Software programmer that co-founded Tiburon Entertainment, if you guys remember that, with EA Sports back in the day, Madden. Then he went on to becoming the executive vice president for a brief period and oversaw Xbox Live at Microsoft, of course, and then returned to EA again, had a brief stint with Zynga in the same role. And then he started the company, Shiver, in 2012. And then interesting, this part too, I actually found this really interesting. It says Shapert also has more personal associations with links to Nintendo. When DICE awarded Satoru Iwata a posthumous Lifetime Achievement Award, Shapert presented the award to Reggie and spoke of the former Nintendo president's generosity. And he said that, quote, "My friendship, admiration, and respect for Mr. Iwata is so great. He was not a normal video game executive. He was a game maker, designer. His passion and dedication are deeply missed. So please make every game count." I was like, this is interesting. It
is.
Who would think that after that, Nintendo would eventually buy your company that you founded? So Yeah, it's on the surface, right? It's this company from that started in 2012 that's ported 5 games. That's surface, right? But then you dig a little deeper and you see all this and you see how much experience this guy has in the industry and his connection to Nintendo as well. And then it starts to make more sense that they're not just buying a port house. This guy actually seems like he has
there's like a
ton.
passion.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
so
very-
it's a little more than that.
I really like that you brought that up because it gets me thinking just about like it seems like Nintendo over the last like decade or so has done a lot, and perhaps more so than a decade, right? Has done a lot to kind of repair a lot of their like third party relations. Like when you hear about like when you read like through Nintendo's investor meetings, they talk about their partnerships, and then you look at the partner showcase, right? And then you look at like that relationship you just brought up with Shiver Entertainment, but then we also look at what we heard about the people at what's the studio that was absorbed into what is it, Activision? I'm not sure. Maybe it might was it Activision? I think I'm confused. But the whole Donkey Kong Freedom project, right? And how the people who are running Vicarious Visions, like the people who ran that were huge Nintendo fans, right? And then you look at what happened by the company they were purchased by, and they were they were ran to the ground, right? Or they left. Like, but look at Nintendo wanted that product to exist. And then you look at other companies and contrast, right? You like look what happened with Hi-Fi Rush in that studio. Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of looking like Nintendo is a good place to work for or to work with, not necessarily like for. Because in the case of Shiver Entertainment, it's looking like they're going to give them the freedom to kind of do what they want. And we've also heard that story that Nintendo has like very low turnover compared to other companies. So, in terms of like Nintendo and developers and relationships, at least from everything I'm seeing, it's looking like they're pretty good compared to other companies. And we're maybe starting to see some of the fruits of those efforts.
Yeah, they're looking really good right now, especially just compared to how it was growing up, right? With the NES era,
Nintendo was
the
the
seal
villain.
of quality.
They were evil.
Yeah, and the things that developers said that they had to go through just to get their game on store shelves, and to where we are now. You look at that, obviously the Super Nintendo era, and then what happened with the 64 and not going the CD route. I feel like they've made strides though. I feel like since the GameCube era, because the GameCube, the 64 is very hard to develop games for, and that's well noted. And so they wanted to obviously change that. And if you guys recall, they wanted to make it a very developer-friendly console. And that was one way that they were going to try and win back the third-party support that they lost during the 64 era. But really, since then, I mean, we're talking over 20 years now, I feel like they've been making strides in that direction. And we saw with Switch, and we're going to see it again even more so with Switch 2. We also heard some rumors, right, recently that Switch 2 is very easy to develop on. Is that right, Nate?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like even easier.
Yeah, easier, yeah.
Which is
I
great.
think a lot of lessons were learned from the Wii U, because the Wii U was a complete disaster. It was so bad, and I've heard horror stories from developers myself about. I've interviewed developers in the past and I've talked to them offline about the Wii U just being a complete nightmare, and also the tools. Like the rumor about the tools for Switch 2 being so nice, the tools for Wii U are just garbage, just totally terrible for these developers. Real long communication windows between talking to Nintendo, getting things approved, trying to get games running on the system was just really, really bad for the Wii U. It just took a really long time to port games. It didn't have to be that bad for a lot of the developers back then. And I think Nintendo learned their lesson with that, because developers just like, well, more just I'm not going to make games for you. And so they started to listen to them more, and then talking to them more, having more of a relationship. And now here we are going to Switch 2, and it looks like they're going to be king of the crop here, have their pick of the litter of all the games. So here we go.
Yeah, so many times I feel like we've seen this. History has shown it over the years. where one of these console manufacturers will have just wild success, like we saw with PlayStation 2, right? And every developer loves working with them. Everyone's making money. And then the PS3 comes out, and it's so hard to make games on this console. And then the price point comes out, $5.99. It's like, what? And you have all these missteps, right? You have the Xbox 360, arguably what Xbox's most successful console.
Yeah.
And then after that, the next console, huge misstep. You had the Wii, huge success. Wii U, huge misstep. So, of course, we've talked about this before. We're in position now where the Switch, massive success, biggest success of all for Nintendo. And from what we've heard so far, it feels like there's not going to be a misstep. Like they're doubling down on what made it successful. They're doubling down on making it even easier to work with, to get more third parties. Things do seem like they're lining up really well. And like Nate, you said, you don't want Nintendo to get obviously cocky. I don't
little too cocky.
Yeah, I don't want them to either, because we've all
complacent.
seen. Yeah, we've seen how this has played out. We've all witnessed it. If we've been doing this as long as we have, we've seen it. And it's like, I just don't want them to misstep here. But everything's pointing towards they actually might not. We might actually do this right.
Sure.
Which is great.
Yeah,
break the cycle.
I'm ready.
The misstep may happen with
Michael.
Switch 3. We gotta watch out for that one. Because if Switch 2 is a 200 million selling console, then they might get way too overconfident, and at that point, gotta watch out for them.
That won't be for another 9 years.
Yeah, but say 2040 will be
old
Nintendo's.
man by the time we're running.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, let's get into our next topic, Thunder Steve. What do we got here, buddy?
All right, so we're talking about the 1,000-year door. This is really exciting, guys. Obviously, it's coming out tomorrow.
Out in Japan already.
Yeah, I have it pre-ordered. I will be going to Best Buy to go pick it up for store pickup, because I will not wait for them to ship it, because it's going to take an extra couple of days, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm very excited to go pick that up. A lot of the reviews came out. The embargo lifted, what was it, on Tuesday morning, and it's sitting at, currently it's at 88 as of right now, overall Metacritic. It was at 89, now it's at an 88. There's only one mixed review, and that was from Eurogamer Portugal. Outside of that, though, you got 67 positive reviews. That's it. There's no negative reviews.
Do you know what they were mixed about?
Yeah, I could tell you. I have it right here. So
It's kind of weird. Yeah.
it says Paper Mario exudes charm in every block of paper and cardboard, with multiple secrets, combat, and puzzles around every corner, but absurd backtracking and low difficulty spoil the experience. And I don't know. I read obviously
the Paper Mario game.
I know. Yeah, I was like,
that's what I'm thinking, man. What are you talking about? Absurd backtracking? I mean,
They added in like less backtracking. They added in like
They made it
warp
less
stuff.
backtracky.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I played. I had Paper Mario pre-ordered back in the day on GameCube. Played it, beat it. I don't remember there being an absurd amount of backtracking. Certainly not enough to make that the butt in your review.
That's
the big
one
negative.
without
The
the
reason why
improvements.
we gave it a 6.
Yeah.
They gave it a 60. A 6 out of 10.
People are allowed to have whatever opinions they want. Their opinion's valid to themselves. So
Yeah.
And who
But-
gave it the 6? Is that IGN?
No,
well, basically.
Oh.
Eurogamer.
IGN owns Eurogamer.
Eurogamer of Portugal. Let's remind ourselves that they're
Also, a
different
reminder that Eurogamer
subsets.
and the branches of Eurogamer were not owned by IGN at the time of the publication of the reviews.
Yeah. They weren't.
The
But
next
watch out.
Nintendo review.
Watch
About
out for Jim
24 hours.
Sterling's review. He'll give it like a 2 out of 10
Right?
Yeah.
when that comes.
Too flat.
We'll see the full IGN effect when the next Nintendo game review says too much water.
I can't wait. It should be interesting.
What if the next Zelda game is all water, like Wind Waker? And they're like, oh,
Literally,
too much water.
too much water. We're gonna get a repeat of the too much water comment.
We
I
heard
know,
your
for real.
concern about Wind Waker. Here's more water. What?
Yeah.
So outside of the one mixed review, 67 positive reviews. The 88 Metacritic score is fantastic. Obviously, with an 88 score, there are some websites that, of course, gave it a 10 out of 10. Quite a few, actually, which is really awesome considering how old this game is. Now, information did come out, and I didn't want to read into this too much because obviously I'm excited for the game, and it has been a long time since I played it. It's been over 20 years, seeing as when I played it when it came out. But there are going to be new boss fights in the game.
That's exciting.
And
That's
it's
very
post game, so it's not, from what I can gather, right, without
It's
me
like, it's
reading
not
into
story
it.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's post game boss fights. So there is some additional content there, and obviously there was some news that came out a few months back that the original soundtrack, of course, is optional in the game if you want to do that. So you got some additional stuff there. Obviously, the original soundtrack is fully composed?
Yeah, they redid the entire soundtrack. They redid everything,
And it's
now
the
there's like
original composer.
there's unique.
I can't wait.
There's unique music now for certain boss fights that didn't have unique music before. But again, all of this is all optional because you can return the game to all the original sounds.
Oh,
if you want.
it's just a swan song. It sounds.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to marathon this on Friday.
Right.
Selfless plug.
I appreciate that we have those options in there. Obviously,
Improve
guys-
fast travel as well.
yeah, and that's always appreciated because we didn't always have that, of course, 20 some years ago, the fast travel aspect. So
Partner
I'm
Ring's
personally
gonna make
very
things
excited to
fun.
play it. I'm hoping Best Buy, they deliver the goods on time. They are notorious for having games pre-ordered, and I go down to pick it up, they don't have it.
Oh,
Notorious.
God.
I've spoken
Happens
about
all
it
the
many
time.
times on my videos. Yeah,
It's frustrating.
it'll say it's
Why
ready for
most of the games
pickup.
I buy are digital.
Dude, it's frustrating. I know. And I've said this to my lady before. I said, part of me is ready for everything to happen to where I don't have to go to Best Buy anymore and go pick it up. And it's only digital. But the fact that the choice is still there, I have to go physical. I'm not,
Yep.
I can't not go physical. But when it's all said and done and we're only digital, there are some things to appreciate there, like being able to download the game at midnight, not having to drive, 25 miles each way to Best Buy just to go find out they don't even have it yet, even though they texted me and said it's ready for pickup.
25 miles up the hill both ways. That's what Republic is.
Right? It's frustrating, but I am very excited to play it tomorrow. What about you guys? Are you guys planning on playing it tomorrow?
I'm gonna download it in 90 minutes.
July.
Nice. That's
I'm
your
on
next
a
movie?
I'm on a game freeze right now because we have a cruise coming up, so I'm on like a really strict budget. So I won't be making any game purchases till July when I get back, but I will be buying it. I might even be buying it on right before my flight back and be playing it on the flight. So
Nice.
that'd be nice.
That's a good call. That'd be a good one to play on the flight for
Yeah, it's
sure.
gonna be great.
A fantastic one, yeah.
Now, did you guys play this, the original? Is there anyone who hasn't played it yet? If you haven't, it's okay.
Eric, you're gonna love
played
it
it,
if
yeah.
you played
I
it.
played it on
Yeah.
GameCube.
Dude, the comedy in the game.
no,
my
I've,
god.
I've watched Game Grumps play it, so I feel like I played it.
The writing's
no,
There you go.
yeah, no, from watching Game Grumps play it seemed like a freaking fantastic game. So
I think you would actually love it. As someone
Oh, yeah,
who
yeah.
loves like the normal Mario series, this is the one. You can skip the other Paper Marios. This is the one you don't skip.
This is
no, I know.
You don't skip
yeah.
this one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, to whoever played some of the other Paper Mario games and they thought it maybe wasn't for them, I would give this one at least a chance. If you don't like this one, you don't like Paper Mario.
That's a good point.
It's a good
That's a
one.
good point. 'Cause
Probably
this
the
is
best one.
pinnacle. This is the pinnacle of Paper Mario. Paper Mario
if you-
64, I really liked a lot.
It's a good one. Yeah.
But this is the best Paper Mario.
Do we have any
For sure.
Origami King haters here?
I don't hate it.
I don't
just,
hate it.
It just could be better.
Better than
was
Color
meh.
Splash.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
True.
I really like Origami King.
I kinda wanna give it
I
another
enjoyed
chance.
it for what it was. Like, it was the thing. I kind of accepted what Paper Mario is today. So I thought for what it is today, it was a perfectly fine game. But
Especially
I also
that.
didn't know this was coming. And with this coming, it's like, okay, well, if this just destroys all the prior Paper Mario sales, then they better make this the kind of Paper Mario in the future. But
I hope that's what ends up.
Yeah,
happening.
Feels like we are.
This game has, from what I understand, because this is going to be my first like full playthrough of the game. Like there's so many unique characters and personalities, like
Yes.
compared to all the other more recent Paper Mario offerings, they lost a lot of that creativity, and so that to me is very exciting. Now, it's not that the Paper Mario games aren't creative. Like you could make the argument like the boss fights and like the battle systems are creative, but also there are things that a lot of fans don't even want. Like a lot of people don't. I understand it for Origami King. People don't like the fact that the battles are like puzzles. And so, yeah, it is maybe it does kind of, I understand from that perspective why people don't like Origami King that much. But like, I love Origami King because it's just such a fun adventure. And, if that's anything to go by for Thousand Year Door, I think I'm going to like Thousand Year Door even more because the combat system is not annoying. I mean, I'm familiar with other Paper Mario games. I've enjoyed the original on N64, Mario RPG recently. So I think it's going to be a good time. And, I'm looking forward to it.
And you said you hadn't played this, and you love Origami King. Is that what the statement you just made?
Correct.
Oh man, dude.
I know
you are-
he's in for a treat,
Dude.
man.
Oh man, you love Origami King. This is
Origami King
literally
is such a good game, dude.
peak. This
yeah,
is
that's the
so-
thing. When you said that about Origami King, I was like, he has not really played this game.
yeah.
It will forever taint your Origami King experience.
It will make Origami King.
I'm
seem
not
awful.
even kidding. Yeah, I know you're
Yeah.
like scrunching you don't understand. Once you finish this game, you will finally realize
Hey,
how much better this is compared to what Paper Mario
Yeah.
has been.
Yep.
I'll tell you this though. Okay, a lot of people prefer Xenoblade 1 over Xenoblade 2. I don't.
That's
I
fine.
played Xenoblade
This
1
is
first.
isn't like that. I don't think
No.
you're gonna want to see how many leagues. Like this isn't even. It's like
If
you're not
you-
even playing the same series.
Yeah.
That's how great
you-
this game is. In
Especially
comparison.
if what you thought was like what you took out of Origami King was the story, and that's what you loved the most about Origami King.
No, that
Then-
wouldn't say I loved them. I just like Origami King because it was a really fun adventure that had some. It was a combination of things. I actually like the puzzle. I like the puzzle combat, but I also can get how it can get a little frustrating. I think I would
Sure.
prefer just the traditional combat system evolved, so I get that. But like for Origami King, it's just a really fun adventure. It's a really pretty Switch game. There are some cool character moments, so I'm excited for Thousand Year Door to kind of do that even more.
Oh
so.
my god, there's characters in Thousand Year Door. that
Yeah,
make me actually cry,
I've
so.
seen enough to know that's for sure the case. Yeah.
Yeah, let me put this out because I see a lot of people chatting this. We're not saying Origami King is bad. We're just saying that it's not as good as Thousand Year Door.
Yeah,
I'm not going in
clarification.
thinking, man, there's no way they're going to top Origami King. Like
Yeah.
I am aware.
Origami
I am
King
aware
is
of the
peak.
hierarchy here.
Gaming does not get
Peak
better than
King.
Origami King. You've heard it here on Just Restart.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't they do something weird?
Elden
like that
Ring,
game.
Zelda, Step Aside.
Better than Tears of the Kingdom. Right?
Origami
King, that's where it's at. Game of the year.
Didn't
Game
they
of
do
the-
something
game of the
weird
decade.
with Origami King? Didn't they like release it after a month of showing it, or like?
Yeah, so they revealed it in May and it released in July.
Yeah,
it
okay,
was
that
very
was-
short. Yeah.
Yeah,
They did
yeah.
the same thing they did this year with NES World Championships, which
Wow.
It
is
had
not
like
as crazy.
no
because
marketing behind it. It was weird.
Yeah, it was a pandemic year.
And then it sold
true.
well.
It
actually
did
went on so
because
well.
it's a good game.
it is a good game.
People
It is a
also
good
wanted
game.
things to play, man. It was everyone was at home. We need
I
things
think
to play.
after you play Thousand Year Door, I do think you'll like the Thousand Year Door more, but I don't think it's going to change how much you
I mean, I
appreciate
played Mario
Origami
64
King.
and Mario RPG, right? So I don't
Yeah.
think like it's gonna be like I know what I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll still
guys like-
I still enjoy Origami King.
There's a few jokes in the game. I can't wait till you beat it because I got to ask what your reaction was because there's some jokes that you wouldn't believe would be in a Nintendo
Yeah.
game in this
Yeah.
game.
I know.
There's
I'm
some.
familiar-
It just does. You're just like, what? Wait, this
Yeah.
is a kid's game, isn't it? What is happening?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like they were trying to give
Don't they
Alpha,
beat up
Alpha
people on
Dream
Rogueport
a
or
run for their
something?
money.
Isn't like Rogueport like a dystopian like city?
It's like a crime town. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily dystopian. It's just more
Okay.
like it's like a rundown. Like the lore is this is literally the opening cutscene. So I'll just say this: the lore is that there used to be this old rogue port and it got burnt down, and then they built this new rogue port over it, but they never recovered, so it's all run down and gross. So that's
Cool.
that's the lore.
Can't wait to play it.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm excited, dude. I'm so excited because like the visuals of that's what I think is the strongest thing about newer Paper Mario games are the visuals and the fact that they're taking that and applying it to this game that's already, in my opinion, a 10 out of 10, and it just is going to heighten that experience. And then what Nate was saying about the music, oh my god, dude, I'm so excited. That's gonna be so I love like orchestrated music and just like the orchestra. Like, I don't know, something about it, man. It just like, especially with new Nintendo games, it's just great.
Yeah.
Also, great music to put in my videos.
Like Mario Galaxy.
Hell yeah!
That soundtrack, that Mario Galaxy soundtrack is just so good.
yeah, for sure.
But maybe there's a point to be made here. Does Thousand Year Door, is it actually worth playing it? Because the game is so good that it makes everything else terrible. Like, why would I ruin my life?
It
that way?
doesn't make everything
It's
else
not-
terrible.
that's
It just
the
makes
real
you disappointed in Nintendo because you're like,
You had
Oh,
this,
this
and
is
you
what
just
you can
never went
do?
back to it.
yeah, you made peak and you can't make it again. Or why not?
You not even attempt to make it again. That's
Yeah,
the weird
I wouldn't
thing.
use can't. I would be like, they should. I think they
Don't
will
want
though.
to.
Hey guys, just buy Thousand Year Door. If Thousand Year Door is the best-selling Paper Mario game, there's no way they're not going to go in that direction.
Yeah, then they can't.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna knock on their door and be like, "Bro, stop making these like gimmicky."
Miyamoto, you were wrong.
That's
And,
the
and,
thing.
and here's the thing: is like I really like Super Paper Mario. I wouldn't even say is that bad. I understand like not having the RPG mechanics. I know we're just kind of talking about the Paper Mario series now, but like I don't know, the RPG mechanics is not like in Super Mario being missing is not necessarily the end of the world, because in my opinion, I think Super Paper Mario's story is actually better than Thousand Year Door. It gets like way deeper, but I don't think that's just me. That's just me personally. I'm not saying
here.
I'm
Get
just
him
saying
outta
I think it just barely ekes above Thousand Year Door. But but that's saying a lot because Thousand Year Door story is still, in my opinion, 10 out of 10. So
I think
but-
people weren't expecting Super Paper Mario
yes.
to be the way it was. Because I know when I
Yes.
played it, again, had it pre-ordered, excited to come home and play it. And I
Yeah.
was expecting a Mario
Thousand Year Door.
RPG, right? I just played Thousand Year Door. I'm expecting it, the follow-up to it.
Yep.
And for it to be just so different, right?
Yeah.
Like Zelda to Zelda 2, almost. It's like, well,
yeah.
it's still a Paper Mario game, but this feels way different.
What would be really cool to see, I don't know, modding community. I know there's a huge Paper Mario modding community, is to have Thousand Year Door, or not Thousand Year, excuse me, Super Paper Mario, but they change it so that it is RPG. Like all the battles are RPGs.
That'd
Like,
be cool to see.
I wonder if that's how technically advanced that would be, or to pull off or whatever. But that would be a very cool thing to see. Because again, I think the story, and I do like the like platforming and the puzzles that are in that game. I think it carries. I think it's what carries that experience, and it's just a shame that it is missing that RPG element. So
It seems like Nintendo's going back, though, possibly to this formula. Because obviously we got Super Mario RPG, which is a game I absolutely love, and Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. Both these games are, I would say, right there in quality as far as a RPG game starring Mario.
Yep.
And then we got those rumor one of Mario and Luigi.
Oh, please.
Now I love Mario and Luigi.
Give
I still
me
have it.
more rumors.
Yeah, I love
Rumors.
those games.
That's
but
a good one.
those are peak. Those are like peak Mario RPG
Those are
experiences,
also really
especially
good.
what Superstar Saga is excellent.
And I feel like a lot of those aren't as accessible. I know I know a lot of people play them on the DS, but I feel like not as many people, like a lot of people don't even know that a series exists. I feel like it's a very underrated underground series. Like, I think it's fantastic, and I agree with you. They're 10 out of 10s, and I would be amazing to have more eyes on that.
So what you're saying is Mario and Luigi is going to be a Switch 2 launch title.
That would be pretty sick.
Bring back Star Fox, please. Star Fox.
Oh
save
my!
us.
Can you imagine Star Fox is a year one title for Switch 2? Oh my goodness!
I mean, wasn't it a year one for 3DS?
Yeah,
that would be another graphical game. They would really show off.
I'm hearing some Switch 2 chatter yet again.
I think we're ready to move on.
Sorry,
F-Zero.
I think we've exhausted 1,000-Year Door.
I feel like it's time to get to Eric's topic.
In the interest of time.
Eric.
What's Eric's topic?
Eric.
Is the Switch 2 releasing this fiscal year? Let's make our best arguments for and against the possibility.
Eric, what is a fiscal year?
March to March, isn't it? One full year of when they do their business.
I wasn't trying to test you. I just want to clarify for those listening that don't necessarily know what a fiscal year is.
Yes, it's what the business considers their financial, what they consider a year for their
financial year.
Yes,
it's
so by the end of March, of 2025.
Yes. All right. What else?
Yeah.
There's more. There's more notes here.
No, I know. Yeah,
I was letting them know.
Oh, yes. In addition, we have a smidge of semi-related news. Nintendo is hiring a graphic designer to work directly with the bigwigs in Japan to design packaging and guidelines for it. It's seemingly new feature products and bundles. Suggests it's a position tied directly to packaging design for retail for the new platform.
Also, the 1,000-Year Door has 4K support,
or at least code. They have code for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
I was
talked
going to
about
show those things, but
So you combine all that together. Those two things, plus obviously we know about the rumors, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rumors are already out there about it being a March thing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like you have a graphic guy who's like being hired right now. I mean, they don't have the person for it yet. The hiring post recently went up where they're looking for a person to handle package design and work directly with the marketing teams and all that for marketing campaigns. And then you have the 1,000-Year Door showing, hey, we got this 4K thing in our code base. We're messing around with it. Why? Oh, Switch can't do it. So what's the point? Switch can't even output a 4K signal. It just doesn't do it. So why is this in there? Well, could it be that Switch 2 is coming sooner than some people expect? So yes, is it possible? What's the best arguments we have that this is going to happen this year, and then arguments against
this fiscal year?
This fiscal year, yes. I got to clarify this fiscal year.
I mean, some people might still have the hopium that it comes out this year, but I feel like when you look at Nintendo's tweet and they talk about how they have a direct in June that's focused on the second half of 2024 for Switch 1 only, I think that kind of detail right there pretty much makes it really obvious that Switch 2 is not coming out this year. But that said, that doesn't mean it won't come out by the end of March. I mean, it's hard to make an argument if we ignore rumors. But I will say that a similar situation happened last year. Well, not last year, last generation, I should say. Back in 2016, there were reports that Switch 2 would come out in the holiday. Then all of a sudden, there was a delay, supposedly for software. And then, we heard from the Giga Leak that they kind of supported that notion. And yeah, Switch came out March, and they got a cross-gen version running for Breath of the Wild, which doesn't sound too different from getting a cross-gen version ready for Metroid Prime 4. But, there's a little bit of that. We do know that there were a lot of developers that were excited for Switch 2 at the beginning of this year, for this year, right? So, if the console was supposed to come out holiday, which there have been some dev that have somewhat indicated that, right? Then, or at least close, the notion of it coming out in March, as what a lot of reports are suggesting, including Midori, who's extremely reliable, it doesn't seem like an extreme stretch. Now there is a little bit of a fear here because Nintendo says they'll give us news within the fiscal year, not necessarily the release, right? So theoretically, we may not get news until like March of next year. The console doesn't come out till Christmas of 2025. But I'm gonna ride with March 2025 for now.
Yeah, I agree with you because they already basically announced it right now, like with the pre-announcement.
Yeah.
And Furukawa said that they don't want to wait too long from announcing their console to releasing them. And yes, they haven't actually shown Switch 2 yet, but since they are actually acknowledging it right now, waiting till holiday of 2025, I think would be way too long. It leaves the Switch 1 out to dry a little bit too long there, I would say. So fiscal year, the start of the new fiscal year, brand new fiscal year for Nintendo, brand new console, brand new generation. I think we're getting it at least by April of 2025 is my guess. And I think all the reasons are there, all the rumors line up, all the information lines up, and Nintendo's own words kind of line up too with the timing of it. So I'm for that.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think if we take account all the rumors, right, and just I think the overall census on everything, right? Like I think a lot of us really believed we were going to get Switch in 2024. It made sense based on the declining sales, just kind of where everything was at. The fact that Switch is just having a very hard time handling pretty simple games, right?
Mhm.
I reviewed the Contra on PS5, and I had a lot of people in my comments on the reviews say how bad it runs on Switch. It's like, this game should not run poorly on the Switch. Okay. We've seen this many other instances. It's time for the new Switch. 2025 makes sense. March would be 8 years from when the Switch came out. 2025 makes sense because the NES came out, obviously I know, because it came out the year I was born in 85. Makes sense to come out in 2025. Nintendo's 40th anniversary in North America. It definitely lines up. Now, if we're talking beginning of the year end, this June Direct's going to say a lot.
Yeah.
I personally feel it's going to be more towards the beginning of the year, like March, April. But I think after we see this June Direct and we see what they have planned, that's going to just say so much. Obviously, I'm hoping for a nice closeout for the Switch, hoping to see a lot of the games that we've talked about that we were hoping to see, like the Metroids, the 2 and 3, maybe the Zelda, Wind Waker and Twilight. Some things here and there that are nice things to have to be able to play portably on the Switch and to close it out. But I'm really not hoping for a lot outside of that, because if we do get a lot outside of that, it might be a lot longer. We might be waiting till more towards the end of 2025.
Yeah.
I mean, in the June Direct, if they announce like a big Switch game and say 2025, then that's really going to feel like, okay, yeah, maybe this thing's not coming out early next year.
Or there's a whole bunch of cross-gen games.
Yeah. I know. That's the other thing is a cross-gen.
That's the goalpost moving.
Yeah.
I want to see a lot of cross-gen. I really do.
June Direct happens. All of a sudden, a couple of days later, the rumors break. Oh, yeah, Nintendo sent out another letter. It's looking at June of 2025 at the earliest.
Well, Furukawa already said that this is going to be really hard to sell Switch hardware.
Yeah,
from
he
this
said
point
that
forward.
this is extremely ambitious, the 13.5.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I don't know.
He sounded like he wasn't confident they were actually going to hit the target, but they're just like, hey, he said we like to set these targets because we feel it is a challenge. Yeah.
So that tells you their software for Switch 1 isn't really going to push hardware at this point.
But price drops, the right bundles this holiday.
A lot of
Mario Kart 8 bundle for
Mario Kart, let's go.
On the Switch 1.0.
I also kind of think that this June Direct is going to be the last general like Switch 1 focused direct.
I agree.
Yeah, agreed.
I made a video on it earlier this week, and I was trying to kind of like talk, like sort of explain that I actually thought that the September direct from last year was supposed to be the last general direct. And you look at how they put kind of like a summation of all their published titles coming in the next like half year or so at the end of that direct. They don't do that ever. They'll put like a sizzle reel of games they haven't announced yet, but they'll never like sum up, hey, here's all the announcements we have from us, Nintendo, coming out for the next 6 months. To me, that September direct almost felt like they were doing hey, these are the games we have coming for Switch 1. It's being supported. And when you think about that, how that was a unique ending to a direct, and you think about how initially we were hearing that the Switch 2 was going to have like a reveal last March before the supposed delay, and we got a partner showcase in February, that partner showcase was going to happen regardless. I kind of think, assuming that all this delay stuff is true, that this direct we're getting in June is them kind of changing plans around, figuring out what they have left for Switch and putting it together to get them over until early next year, which I think also kind of supports the idea that, yeah, they are running out of steam with Switch 1 and Switch 2 is going to come out in March.
So, Nintendo talk. What are you thinking about all this craziness, man? I haven't heard you in so long. I need your soothing voice.
No,
Take me home.
I think Switch 2 is going to be next year. I mean, I would love for it to be this year to carry on the momentum of what they have, or what they will have. But I agree. I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. I think this is going to be the last dedicated Switch Direct. I kind of think that January, February, we're going to hear about Switch 2, and then probably like a late spring launch. I think it is going to be a close, announced to launch. But yeah, any remasters, remakes you guys want, like this will be the direct for it.
Yep. Prime 2 and 3.
Yeah. Prime 2, 3, Wind Waker, Twilight.
I need that bundle,
great way to close
baby.
it out.
Xenoblade Chronicles X.
That too.
That would
Crazy
be cool.
it's not on there.
Why not?
But yeah, it's going to be really telling. This direct is going to be really, really telling. It's going to be interesting to see like how strong Nintendo wants to end, because some people could say like Thousand Year Door is a good ending. So will they go light? Will they go with some major games? But
Right.
But it's
they
not
got to
the
carry
ending.
momentum too.
We got Luigi's Mansion 2. We got. Don't forget about the Nintendo World Championships, baby.
Oh man, can't wait.
oof.
I got it
Luigi-
pre-ordered,
Luigi's
Can't wait for the
Mansion
new
2
game
isn't
they made in 2
great.
weeks.
and I got the Japanese one pre-ordered with the
Hell yeah!
Famicom
Nice.
controllers.
To be fair, they got some sick bundles for those.
They do.
I do like the bundles.
Yeah.
Collector's item.
Yeah.
I'm being sarcastic about it, but I do think it's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Isn't there no online?
It
or
might
some weird
feel like
thing?
it should be an NSO title, but it's okay.
I kind of think so too.
Yeah, I think so too. But
And instead, we're gonna spend $50 on it.
I think we're getting it for a reason to fill out that calendar as well.
It's
Yeah.
filler.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
filler.
oh, hey.
that's totally a filler release. So much.
This is all
We
filler.
have something
This
coming
entire year is filler.
Yeah, if this direct
Yeah.
is just a bunch of ports and remasters, and there isn't like any like brand new stuff from Nintendo, it's kind of like okay.
I think that's what we're
It's-
celebrating.
Switch 2's come in March. Switch 2's
that's-
come in March.
I'll be very happy if that happens.
They might have another Kirby game. You never know. That's
Sure,
always like in the
yeah.
cards.
They could have a Princess Peach level
If you
game
count
come out,
that.
but
Mario
I mean, I
Party, Sonic, and
if they're
Mario and Sonic.
big holiday games this year, is like, oh, we got Wind Waker and a Metroid Prime bundle, I'm gonna be like, okay, see you in March.
Yeah.
Metroid
Switch
Prime
releases in
what
March. Got
bundle?
it.
Metroid Prime 2 bundle?
Like, I'll be excited. I'm gonna buy the damn things, but it's kind of like, okay. Like,
I actually kind of want like us to get like, I want to get like a Metroid Prime 2 remastered, like remastered one. Like it's been such a long time since.
that'd be cool.
It'd be nice.
Obviously, it hasn't been a really long time, but when we're talking about remasters, it's been over a year. I feel like they could have made Prime 2 kind of like Prime 1 remastered if they really wanted that. I know the rumor was that that's not what they're doing, but I'd be about it.
This
I've
is the
thought about
time
that
where
too.
all of our wallets are going to be hurting because they're going to release special editions and like collector
yeah.
editions of
oh
things.
my
Like,
god.
Metroid
I'll be
Prime
there.
Trilogy Edition, probably.
When they
Yeah.
when they start
Yeah.
dropping, oh, here's a Metroid OLED edition. Here's
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Wind
god!
Waker OLED
I have to
edition.
buy like 3 more
Oh my gosh.
Switches.
hey, Xenoblade X. Here's a Xenoblade OLED edition. I'm just gonna be like, what are you doing to my wallet right now?
That's what they
This
did
is
with the
what you were doing.
3DS.
This is how you're selling 13.5 million. All of us that like to collect these special editions, you're just going to drop every crazy special edition we've ever dreamed of in the final year.
So you guys think we're getting one more OLED this year? We're getting one more OLED edition this year?
I think there's going to be another special edition.
Just one?
Look,
At least
I would
one.
say one. It's possible two. I would say that it could also be where there's a special OLED, but then they would also do like a special Switch Lite as well.
Yeah,
That would be nice to see.
So
I will say,
OLED.
I will say this though, guys, and the guys in the chat: save your money for Switch 2. Start saving now. You're going to need at least $500. I would say,
yeah.
400 for the console. You
Yeah.
want a game, and you want maybe the next Pro controller. So
Yeah.
at least 500, maybe
Don't forget,
550.
you got to pick up a memory card too.
Start saving that money. Start
this
saving your
assumes
money.
you live in the U.S. Other countries, I'm really sorry, you might need $1,000.
Yeah, you might need a little more.
Mhm.
There's that. No.
Depends on. Oh boy.
But do you
You
think
might
like
need
all the
a-
controllers would be compatible though? I don't think.
I think about Bluetooth.
Reportedly that they are compatible, but there still will be a unique controller.
Yeah, whatever
probably gonna
new
be good.
feature, microphone port, camera, I don't know, something.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean,
maybe
that's
they, got
probably
new,
gonna be
maybe they have
expensive.
analog triggers. That
Wasn't
would
the
be
Pro
sick.
controller $70. So like you
Yeah.
know,
It
you're gonna
would
want
be nice if it would be nice if you have to get a new one because of analog triggers. That I'm okay with.
Yeah, you'll need a high-speed SD card as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, probably about $600. More like it. Save your money.
All right,
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean-
fair, if 256 is the internal storage, that is enough. It should be enough to play any individual game.
except for Call of Duty.
Even Call of Duty, I think it'll fit on there because it's not going to be 4K asset Call of Duty. And even then, it's only like 100 and something gigs.
Okay,
256 is plenty.
but what if they give us a packing game?
Yeah,
Nintendo Land, Nintendo World.
I will say this: if they have a
Nintendo.
casual
Just
style
save your
launch
money.
game, like a Nintendo Land or a 1-2 Switch or a Wii Sports kind of thing,
Or Nintendo
please
Land.
Nintendo pack it in.
Nintendo Land.
Pack it in.
Nintendo went able to go hard.
I'm going to
love-
tell you right now.
I
If
love
if
Nintendo
1-2
Land.
Switch was a packing game, I bet you everybody's 1-2 Switch would have been a 10 million plus seller.
I disagree. I think if 1-2 Switch was packed into Switch, the brand would have been ruined and Switch would be a failure.
What?
Yep.
Wow, big words.
I kind of agree, but I mean Zelda launched with it, so it's
I mean,
That's what I'm
So-
saying. Like, you launched with
All
Zelda.
right. So I'm speaking in hyperbole, but I actually think 1-2 Switch would have hurt them a little bit.
I
I
do
think
too.
you got to be careful with
Yeah,
what.
are you talking about because of
Too-
the
too
reputation?
Wii-like. Mhm.
Like trying to be like an adult platform that has 1-2 Switch with it?
The 1-2 Switch is just not a good game.
Well, I mean, look at the
'Cause they are
reveal
just
trailer.
rooftop parties, baby.
They had
I
like
agree.
That's their,
Skyrim in
that's
the
their
reveal
Karen
trailer.
rooftop party game. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
It's not a good game, and you got to be careful with what game you pack in. If you pack in a crap game, it's going to
But
be.
you're not going
associated
to
with
usually you're not
console.
going to pack in a good game because it's going to sell on its own.
Well, Mario World,
Like I'll
prime
give you
example.
maybe what
Yeah.
they should do instead. Well, here's the thing, because
Free to play Metro Prime 4 multiplayer.
the packing games typically are games that show off features of the system. That's the point. Like, if you think of like PlayStation 5, comes Astro's Playroom.
Great
Or
game.
at least you
though.
can
But
have
that's a
it.
good that
game
that
is really
shows
fun.
high
That's
quality.
Yes.
That's not shit like 1-2 Switch.
Well, I don't think 1-2 Switch is
Damn.
actually shit. I just think you don't have friends, and that's okay.
First of all, I actually
Whoa.
played 1-2 Switch
Damn.
with several
Get 'em.
people
That's messed
several
up.
times.
Because
Several-
I played 1-2
as in
Switch with a
5 to
group.
12.
I had literally a group of 50 students, and we played 1-2 Switch together, and it was awesome. Because the
Sounds
game
like
can be played with up to 100 people.
you barely got to play it and actually not understand how bad it is.
What?
Yeah.
Damn.
I put a lot of time into the game.
Yep. All 3 seconds with those 50 people you were
What are
sharing.
you talking about?
You just said I had no friends.
he really hurt
You
him.
realize I was
I am
doing that every
unfriending you on
day
Facebook.
for like 6 months, right?
Unfriending
With
on
these
Facebook is
anyways.
crazy.
Anyways,
Poor guy.
I know. I was shooting at you in the face about it because I haven't played everybody's 1-2 Switch, so I can't even talk about that one. But
Oh, God.
1-2 Switch itself is a game that it's meant to be played with a ton of people. It's a party game where you literally are using your body And to me, it's not as appealing as something like a Wii Sports. Of course, sports is just a more appealing concept. But I actually really enjoyed it a lot.
I'm sharing something.
That's fine.
If they could give us something like Astro, but
Enough said.
Nintendo, that would be
Enough said.
amazing.
This is all
Yeah,
right.
reviewers in their basement with a game that you should have like 20 plus people playing is something.
Hey man, why are you resorting to insults to make your argument?
I mean,
But
they
it's
did
not
give.
insults. I'm saying that the reviewers didn't actively play it with a bunch of people. That's all. I know because I read the reviews. I read the reviews and I said they don't get the point of this game.
Hey, so all right. Let me actually speak clearly without joking, right? I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
1-2 Switch is a good demonstration of some of the
It's a tech
innovations that
demo.
the Joy-Cons brought, but I don't think it's representative of the Nintendo brand. And so I think including it as a pack-in would not represent the Switch and its quality well. I think with the decision they made to have it available at launch for those who want a party game, that was fine. Using it in the commercials, showing all the interesting ways to do it, the way they handled it was the right way they did it because of what it was.
Sure.
I think something like Nintendo Land would be better.
Look, I just like milking cows. It is what it is.
Maybe they could have a
You're from
milking game
Wisconsin.
in the next.
I am from
whatever.
Wisconsin.
Milking.
That's why he's from
They need to
Wisconsin.
add that mini game to something like Harvest Moon, and I'd be set.
The best launch games on the Switch were Breath of the Wild, and people don't maybe more consider it, but I think the best launch, one of the best was Ultra Street Fighter 2.
Oh,
Wasn't Super Bomberman R a launch game too?
Yep.
Snipper Clips.
Snipper Clips
Clips
is
is
great.
great.
Snipper Clips is
It's a
good.
great game.
That could have been a pack-in. I like packing games.
Snipper Clips would be better.
I
Snipper
don't.
Clips would have been a good.
Nintendo.
packing
I just
game.
want a packing game. Like you're not gonna pack in your top tier AAA launch game. Like, you're just not gonna
No.
do that.
Um,
But I just want like even like Nintendo Land, great game, right? Like I want
Now we're on the same page.
yes, but that's the thing. Like I want a game packed in that is good, that proves the differences with the system. You know, like
Sure.
that, like the Nintendo Land or the Wii Sports or
How do you
the
feel about Face
Astro's
Raiders?
Playroom. Face Raiders was fine. I didn't think it was like the best game ever, but I mean, look, you're trying to prove AR 3D tech. You know, just the kind of game you're going to do it with, right? It's fun.
Yeah.
A lot of people played it.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, just
it
like
was
Street
free.
Pass and the
was in
Street
it.
and the Street Pass Plaza games and stuff.
Yeah, that I liked that a lot. That was cool.
Yeah, so like Nintendo has experience including some stuff like that. I wouldn't mind them doing that again. I understand that they're probably going to want to aim for targeting the young adult audience again because that's the audience they really hit on and is really big on Switch. And I think they should do that. I mean, it's possible that we could even be talking about how, hey, Nintendo Switch Sports sold well. Maybe we have a new sports title that comes out with it.
it was the perfect one though because of the gimmick of it.
Sure, yeah, with the
Yeah.
Wii Sports
You know?
back in the day.
So what's
That's
that
the thing,
gimmick
like,
gonna be?
I don't
Exactly.
think they need a packing game to prove a gimmick. I think it's just hey, you just dropped $400 on a system. Let's make sure you have something to play. That's new.
Well, something like Astro's Playroom.
Yeah, something like an Astro's Playroom.
That was like a love letter to PlayStation. I mean, if you played it, I
Yeah,
beat it.
yeah.
Yeah, it has so
It-
much attention to detail.
But
It's
could you
magical.
imagine Nintendo doing that?
Do a Nintendo
Like, you're-
something where you go through
even
Nintendo of
better
the
to do that.
ages.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd
you're
be
asked to
sick.
do this. Like, I would care more about the Nintendo love letter.
Dude, yeah,
than I
Nintendo
would
makes
PlayStation.
platformers. Dude, make
Exactly.
a platformer, takes advantage of the HD Rumble and all this other stuff, and you're traveling through the ages of Nintendo, starting with the color TV system that most people don't even know about.
Mhm.
Talk
that
about
would
the
be
power
sick.
pad.
That was sick. You go through the arcade era.
Yeah,
Oh man, dude, it would be
they have
sick.
such a rich history. That
was just a really cool
Cool.
concept for Sony that Nintendo you just need to copy. Just rip it.
I agree. One of the rare times that Nintendo needs to copy Sony.
But I mean,
Not
Astro's
the other way
Playroom
around.
feels very Nintendo.
It does.
Like,
Yeah.
Me
does.
playing Astro's Playroom feels like I'm watching Sony mimic Nintendo. So
It
you're
also
asking,
helps
like,
that Sony's controller is pretty impressive.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
It's just
like
an impressive. That
really
dual
those
sense controller.
adaptive triggers are so good.
And like
Yeah.
that they their Rumble is amazing. It is what HD Rumble wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
Oh, for
game.
sure.
That game was a great game to pack in because it just showed you how great the controller was.
And it also showed to be that, hey, Sony can be creative. Can we get more? Oh wait, you're closing down
really
all
were.
the studios that do games like that.
Let me just speak on a Nintendo Land secret
Sorry.
one more time.
Oh,
This
wow.
is like it's happening everywhere. By the
Yeah.
way, Xbox is even more guilty
Yeah.
at the
Very
Sony.
sad.
Yeah,
Rip
Xbox is-
Tango. Oh, I'm so bad for Tango.
Nintendo Land Talk, I love it.
But
All
so
it is Nintendo. Can you pick them up?
Yeah.
so
Get on the
Just-
phone. They just dropped a final patch. The developers aren't snatched up yet. Let's do something.
one last time, hear me out here for a sequel to Nintendo Land as a pack-in for Switch 2. Okay, you just talked about how like it would be cool if we got to see like a packing game that showed different parts of Nintendo. A sequel to Nintendo Land where there's different sections that are based off different Nintendo IP. It's very, very easily could do that, but also consider this. Now that Super Nintendo World exists, there's a lot of cross promotion that can happen there.
True.
Yes,
I-
there is.
So I think there might be just a little bit more to it now as opposed to before. That's it.
You're
So
right.
a
There's more
Nintendo
reason.
Land 2?
Or Super
Call it
Nintendo
Nintendo
World,
Yeah.
because Land to World, but
Sure.
yeah.
Wouldn't it be crazy if what it did was also semi-preview future editions
That'd
to
be
the
cool.
actual real world park?
Yeah, and they could
That'd
update
be
it.
cool.
They could like patch the game, and when there's new stuff coming to the park,
Very subtly, sure.
Yeah, True.
that'd be
sick.
interesting.
That would be cool.
It would have to be
Very-
good.
Here's the thing.
man.
I think at this point, I don't know that Nintendo. I think Nintendo might never do a pack-in again. I think if there is a quote-unquote pack-in at launch, it'll be a new NSO game. It'll be like a 99 type of game. They can just add it day one. You can only play it on Switch 2 if you have NSO. And that will be their pseudo-packing game.
Plus, we're all gonna have our Nintendo accounts linked, right? So we're gonna have all of our games at launch anyway.
Yeah.
True.
So,
Maybe a lot of free remasters, like that King maybe Breath of the Wild. That it's not even something you pay for. We just have an enhanced Breath of the Wild if you're an NSO member.
I keep thinking that if Nintendo offers like the 4K or like the remastered versions of games, it would be cool, and that would be a huge boon to NSO if it's just a free upgrade if you have it.
That would be awesome.
That would be sweet. That would
so
really
sick.
boost subscriptions.
It'd be a no-brainer to get it. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the higher tier,
well, yeah, they're not gonna give that to you for $20 a year. I
Yeah.
don't see that happen. That'll definitely be the top package tier. But still, even then, it would be really cool. A lot of people would say, yeah, that's great, versus having to rebuy the whole game, or something like that. That would be pretty cool. I think that's one. I just, whatever they do with that, I just want the messaging to be clear. That was one thing Sony wasn't very good with the messaging of how they were going to handle upgrades to the games.
yeah, some games are free,
And some would cost money.
Yeah.
And they at one point indicated they would all be free, and then they said, no, we're going to charge for all of it. Oh wait, no, people are mad, so they just keep going back and forth. Like, Nintendo, just be clear.
Yeah, being
Hey,
super
if you're not
wicked
going to
what you
offer
want
for
to do.
free, but it's going to be part of NSO, just say that.
Xbox did a lot better job explaining
Of
how.
communicating.
Yeah, they had a name for it. You guys remember what that was?
Not off the top of my head, I don't.
No, I didn't buy an
They're-
Xbox.
Yeah, well, their upgrade path, the way they did it, was just so much better than Sony. Sony's was not good. The messaging was very confusing for a lot of people.
It
So
reminded me of the
hopefully Nintendo
messaging
can see
around the
that.
Xbox One on how you could share games. And then Sony's response was, here's how you share games.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah, right.
That was classic.
Xbox messed up in some other ways, of course, chiefly just not having games to play. But
Oh yeah.
so I think we're just going to get to the Q&A section quick. We just have one quick one in. This is more of a statement than a question. It was a $5 super chat coming in from Ellis335, said, Favlam, I love your Super Nintendo World logo in the background. I am so very excited for the Orlando version to open up at Epic
Yes.
Universe next year.
Let's go.
Yeah, that ties into what you were saying about the Nintendo World game coming to Switch. Well, one, that was great. I mean, go visit it if you have the means.
When the one
but
was in Florida, I might be trying to plan a little trip.
Yeah, I definitely want to be there first month or something like that.
Eric's
I think
coming
that'd be
with.
really
There
sick.
you go.
Um,
We're planning a trip.
I think we talked about this in the last podcast that I was on, so not last week but the week before. Having games coming out that would be associated that would promote Super Nintendo World. I think we're gonna see a lot of stuff about that in this Nintendo Direct we get in June. At least a good like 5 to 10 minutes dedicated to that. I would not be surprised, especially because it seems like Nintendo Directs are becoming this segmented thing of like, okay, here's the movie or whatever media stuff we have, and here's the video. Then primarily here's video games, and then also here's our museum that's coming out, plus the Nintendo World ride that we have coming in. And yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of that in this Direct. I'm not saying it's going to be fluff, but I definitely think it'll take up a decent chunk of the time of the upcoming Direct. So, yeah, but I love that sign. I got some other stuff you can't really see. It's not in frame. There's some stuffies. I'll adjust the camera a little bit. There you go. You can see it. They're up there, above my head. Specifically, there's some Piranha Plant and the Chain Chomp and the Boo. Love them very, very much. But yeah, very cool. I think it'll be, Nintendo's becoming very Disney-esque in its own right, and I've always said this about did them recently, especially with how protective they are of their IP, and I think they're taking a lot of notes from Disney, where it's like they're becoming this multimedia franchise, and it's ballooning to be something a lot bigger than just a video game company, and it's very exciting to see that. I in my opinion, so
cool. All right. We're going to go around the room quick and just remind people where we can find us and what we got going on. And then we'll be back next week, same time for episode 5. Super Metal Day 64, what do you got going on and where can they find you?
You can just find me at my username there, Super Metal Day 64. I cover tech related videos or about Switch 2 and Metroid Prime 4 is a big topic for my channel, of course. So if you like stuff like that, and live streaming too. I live stream games. I don't just talk about them, I play them. So come and check me out, and I know you'll like it.
All right, Nintendo Talk.
Yes, you can find me everywhere. Nintendo Talk, Twitter, YouTube. I will be playing 1,000 Year Door tomorrow on stream. Woo! Very exciting.
Hell yeah, might catch me in the chat. For Vlam.
I will be live, or you can catch me at Vlam anywhere, Twitch and YouTube. I'll be posting on YouTube and every week now, and I'm live on Twitch. But big thing I'm doing, so not tomorrow, but Friday night into Saturday, I'm doing 24 hours in Paper Mario. We're going to try and beat it in a 24-hour period. So
damn,
check me out Friday night.
Good luck.
That's going to make a great YouTube video. I'm also playing every Mario Kart clone, and we're gonna make a video about that. So we got lots of cool content in the pipeline. I'm moved in my new apartment now. Woohoo! Yippee! Yay! So I actually can focus on content again, and I'm really excited this summer. So thanks.
Heck yeah, Eric.
Yeah, I'm here. That's it.
Same time next week.
Whoa! Cow!
Same
Yep.
time.
You can catch him here on Wednesdays.
Yep, I'm here.
Maybe I haven't talked to him yet. Maybe he'll pop in for a couple of the streams during all the June festivities. We'll see if any of that fits his schedule.
Yeah.
But we'll see. That's not a for sure thing yet. Andres.
Hey, as usual, I have a lot to say. So thanks. That's pretty much it. Yeah, but actually tomorrow I'm gonna do a live stream where it's a little bit different. We're gonna just spend the entire live stream, and I've already asked people on my community page on my channel. So you can send me a message on there or through Discord or Twitter, like any sort of like Zelda concept. You can even make concept art, and I'm gonna share it during a live stream. And so the whole live stream is gonna be basically about concepting the ultimate Zelda game. So I'm gonna be doing it with you guys in the chat and trying to have a good time.
Awesome. Thunder Steve 85 Gaming.
That's where you guys can find me on YouTube at Thunder Steve 85 Gaming. I just posted a video a few days ago. I revisited a game that came out in 1990 that is very near and dear to my heart. That game is Yo Noid.
Nice.
You're bringing it up again. I love it. Let's go.
I had so much fun
I
playing
love Yo
it.
Noid.
And I actually have a new video coming out tomorrow in the series for a game that I revisited after 30 years. So tune in to check that out. It'll be posted tomorrow night.
Interesting.
All right. Well, guys, I'm Nintendo Prime. You guys know what's up at this point. If you don't, you can check me out at Nintendo Prime on YouTube. Look, I talk a lot about Switch 2 stuff. That's no secret. If you want to stay up to date on everything going on, any rumor or report or speculation, check out my channel. Obviously, we talk about other things as well when there are other things to talk about. Hopefully, some Metroid Prime 4 stuff, maybe in June. If not, some Zelda stuff or something. There's got to be something announced to that June Direct that's exciting to talk about. So we'll also be live streaming that Direct as well. And I'll be live streaming all the various June events like Summer Game Fest, the Xbox event, Ubisoft, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've already got some stuff set up with some of those companies to stream. So we'll be doing that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can catch the Nintenbyte podcast every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central Time. Runs for about 2 to 2.5 hours. And I hope you guys really enjoy the show. Next week, I can just tease a little bit. We have X Gigglypuff coming on. For those that don't remember who that is, it's Madison. That's what she uses. So her username on half their socials is Madison. On the other half, it's X Gigglypuff. She does live streams and stuff. We got John Nebo coming on as well. And maybe for Vlamigan. I don't know. You're on the list. So I'm assuming again.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember.
I was about to ask. I was like, oh, Gigglypuff. So she's my homie. Let's get it.
Yeah, I don't think that's why, though. I think when you talk behind the scenes, you're just like, I'm on those 2 weeks. I'm like, okay. I have no idea. Sure. So for Vlam as well, if there's anybody else, you guys will just have to wait. But that's the current lineup at the moment. So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you really appreciate it. Make sure you tune into our audio podcast. It's everywhere podcasts are heard. Literally, I have the audio version going up pretty much right after the video version now. You don't really have to wait. I get it up the same night. And then on top of that, guys, you should check out our podcast clips channel. For those that don't know, we have a Nintenbyte Podcast clips channel where we segment every single individual topic of the show, release one every single day, all the way up to the next show. And it's a great way to ingest the podcast in bite-sized segments. Also, everyone that always yells at me about timestamps, hey, you don't need timestamps when literally the whole topic is its own video. So go check out that channel. That would be really sweet. We actually have shout out 2 videos since our last podcast. 2 clips have crossed over 1,000 views on a brand new channel, which is pretty insane. One's almost at 2,000. We have a Donkey Kong topic one hit almost 1,000. Mm-hmm. I can't get Donkey Kong to hit 1,000 on my channel. So this is like, I love it. We're hitting on new audiences over there. It's pretty fun. So also, for people who want a variety of content, go to that channel. It's literally a variety of content. It's on Switch 2 every single day. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.